Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the One Nation of Gamers 2016 circuit. This is the final day of Feature Tournament number 2. My name is TJ, and I'm joined, once again, it's been a while, by ThatsAdmirable. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. Just woke up, ready to cast these games. We got 3 great matches for you guys today, and potentially some rematches on the board here as well, with both Dog and Zalae making it to top 4 of this one. But first up, Dog versus VLPS. This is bound to be a good one.
Yeah, definitely. All the matches today will be best of 7, unlike the past 2 days. When the players submitted their deck list, they submitted 5, so including a secret deck. And now it'll be Conquest with 5 decks in one band instead of 4 decks in one band. So a little bit of an interesting twist going into the best of 7 day today. As Admirable sort of mentioned there, Dog versus VLPS is the first semifinal, and then Leadpaint versus Zalae is going to be the second semifinal. And we have $6,000 to give away. I believe some of it has already gone to Fifth Six, but $6,000 for this feature tournament, as well as all of the feature tournaments throughout the course of the year. So lots of great stuff today. And Dog versus VLPS first. Let's talk a little bit about that. VLPS is a player that's on the rise, and Dog's a player that sort of solidified his spot in the Hearthstone scene already.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about Dog's resume, I mean, this guy has been killing it for years at this point. Over $20,000 in cashes. Helped lead NA to a victory over the Chinese team when he went over there back in late 2015. Celestial Invitational got 5th through 8th place in that one, $1,250. Since then, I-League Star Series, got $5K for that one. 2nd place at True Silver recently, $5K for that one as well. And you take a look at VLPS, I mean, his major finish was part of that NA team that helped beat China as well. I mean, they absolutely crushed them in that performance. Since then, he's also had a top 8 at America's Championship. And at the last ONOG feature event, also was a part of that one, too. So look out for this guy. I think 2016 is going to be a big year for him. We usually, when you see him on ladder, he's got a single-digit number next to his name. This guy's just been crushing it lately. And his ambition and his passion's rising right up there as well.
Yeah, VLPS is the 2nd highest rated player in North America for ladder finishes over the last 6 months. He's had a top 100 finish, and like you mentioned, single digits. I think 4 of those were in the top 10, which is an astonishing. Before we jump into the match, we want to make sure we take this opportunity to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Geico is the title sponsor of the event, as well as Video Game Voters Network, and of course, Cyber Power PC. Throughout the day, make sure you guys are headed over to geico.onog.gg for more information about the tournament. The next Open is actually on April 30th, so in just 2 weeks. So if you want to sign up for that, have your chance to win some bucks, have your chance to play in these feature tournaments, head over there, sign up for the tournament, and in doing so, also enter in to win that Cyber Power PC that you can see on the screen there. So big shout out to those guys. Wouldn't be possible without them, and we get to see all of this great ONOG action throughout the entire year. We started, I think, a couple months ago, and we're not going to end until PAX Prime, the grand finals at PAX Prime, in a few months. So it's going to be great. I think we're about to jump in. Let's start talking about their decks a little bit. Druid Band from Dog and Shaman Band from VLPS.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of interested that VLPS has chosen not to bring Druid, just with how strong of a deck it's been recently.
Yeah.
I mean, this has kind of been the talk of the game since as long as Druid's been a deck. I mean, Force Nature Savage Roar, still one of the strongest combos that's out there. We haven't really found a great way to fend it off just yet. Usually it's decks that just going to match it well versus Druid anyway. But to see him ban Druid, see, that's the interesting thing to me. He says, this deck is a little bit too powerful. I don't want to play against it. And he has yet to bring it on his own. So kind of an insight into the way that VLPS is going to want to play these games. He strikes me as more of a fair player, likes to use some powerful stuff, but likes decisions to be the bulk of what's going to be deciding these games. Dog, he's kind of on the same one this one. The mirror match of Reno Jackson decks. Always very interesting to watch players play this one. In VLPS, he's got to be close to second to none in terms of experience. He has thousands of games logged with this deck.
Yeah, and the deck from Dog, I believe, is actually just a Demon Handlock. It's got some interesting tech cards thrown in there. It was one of the best decks that he played over the course of Friday's games. I believe his group was played on Friday. So I thought there was an interesting choice. Another choice from Dog, his Paladin deck is actually mid-range Paladin, just straight up mid-range Paladin, and a greedy one at that. So he brought some crazy decks and ended up, I think, 3-1ing and then 3-0ing his way through his group. So he had an impressive performance. VLPS had a little bit of a tougher time getting through his group stage yesterday.
Yeah, starting to see this come together. Demon Handlock is definitely the call on this one. I mean, you've been watching these matches all weekend. This is my first day of casting this. But these guys are playing so fast so far. It gives you a good idea of how much experience they have. They know that life tapping is super important in this one. They understand the tempo is going to basically drive the game and dictate who's ahead in this one. And Dog, finally with his turn 5 Defender of Argus, it looks like he takes the board.
Yeah, and Dog is just a fast player in general. I remember watching Dog when he first started streaming, back when he hit like a rank 1 season, and some random people started to go to his stream. You know, before people started spamming his chat for him to take off his shirt. He has played fast since the beginning, so that's just the kind of player he is. I want to call it instinctual. Like you said, lots of practice on a deck means you start seeing the decision that you need to make a lot quicker. But it's interesting to see that a player like him plays that quickly.
Yeah, this implosion can be so important too. If this one fails, not quite. Just squeeze that one out. Second Emperor activation would have put in a big hurt on this game. But now VLPS looks like he's kind of in a good spot. I mean, being able to AoE twice in a row and follow it up with implosion, you're going to take the board just a little bit. Look, Dog's hellfiring these guys. And then just anti healbot and pass. So this is kind of the turn that really gets interesting at this point now, is at what point do you stop life tapping and start going towards development? And Dog has chosen turn 7 for this. I think a lot of this is because of the follow-up potential from VLPS. He's life tapped a lot at this point. He hasn't really used any strong cards. He's bound to have something in his hand. And so Dog wanted to get something out for this turn. But now facing down the Dr. Boom, this feels like this is where things I think are going to get a little bit tough for him for the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's interesting though. Dog actually has he was 2 damage off lethal that turn with double Dark Bomb plus Doom Guard, which is kind of funny. He was actually getting pretty close, but he's going to find a way around this. And this matchup's tough because I think the overall quality of the strong minions from the Demon Handlock is a lot better, but the Reno Lock has more tools and but less AoE, so you don't have those swing turns with Shadow Flames. You have to really be greedy with your Shadow Flame, and I don't know if that's a good enough Shadow Flame to be able to push through. He does run combo though, which is a big deal.
Yeah, I think that's why the Shadow Flame here is so important for VLPS. Is just the fact that he's pushing enough damage for a Dog to worry about, but not enough to really make Molten Giant a big threat. I mean, this is I feel like this board position is going to really heavily favor VLPS at this point. He's already got Reno Jackson in hand. He's a little bit ahead on life taps. Like, Dog's forcing down a 5-mana Molten Giant here. This isn't really like an ideal situation for him. But VLPS's answer is pretty expensive. I mean, having to Siphon Soul this does set back your development on the following turn a lot. And that's something that Dog is really looking for, is to get back this board somehow and start taking advantage of the fact that he's the one in the lead. But it's just a couple more turns, though. I mean, that could really change everything. Like you said, this is like the combo deck. And Dog's kind of getting that life total where he doesn't necessarily need Faceless Manipulator to make Leroy Jenkins' Power Overwhelming such a big deal. And so to see how this is going to get handled by VLPS, this next draw, even choosing a Dark Bomb here on the Recombobulator, understands his life totals. He's so vulnerable at this point.
Yeah, so much respect. He saw the he realizes what type of deck this is. I'm sure he saw VLPS's games last in his group stage and knows exactly what kind of deck this is. VLPS does not try to keep his deck secret either. The decks that he plays on his stream and practices on his stream, those are the decks that he brings to tournaments. He practices Hybrid Hunter. He practices Reno Handlock. He practices Control War. He practices Control Priest. And those are all the decks that he brings to tournaments. So you got to know what kind of decks he's bringing.
Now, if Dog hadn't drawn this Molten Giant, do you think we're looking at Jiraxis this turn? This is kind of a crazy draw, actually.
It's dangerous. He also needs a Taunt up as well, which he is... I don't know. He's like bouncing over the... Yeah. You kind of got to be vulnerable for that one turn. Like, there's always that one turn as Handlock where you kind of got to take the risk and be vulnerable. And it's better to do it earlier rather than later. And he's not dead yet.
That's an interesting draw from VLPS. I think that Dog's play here, like with the brand, he just saw that VLPS had trouble answering the last Molten Giant. Like, he Siphon Sold it instead of like big game huntering it. So his development got thrown so far behind. So I think that was really the turn for Dog to try to put a little bit extra pressure out there. And with Brand being such a priority kill, basically, that was basically the one turn. And for VLPS, it was like combo or Twisting Nether or be behind. And now, so this is the turn that Dog gets to drop Jiraxis. Maybe the Void Caller changes things, but I doubt it. And at this point, it's just going to be a matter of swinging away.
Yeah, I don't think you can afford to have the Jiraxis be popped out from Void Caller, just because you need that, since you're sort of getting outvalued by the Reno Warlock, and Reno will bring them back up and make it so that you have to get through more health. You need the 6/6s every single turn in order to have a shot. But there's Reno Jackson played, and now it's like the game has been reset.
Yeah, so quick Owl Mortal Coil from Dog, nice pickup on the Shadow Flame as well. Able to have that AoE threat, I think, really important for him this game. And it's looking like these may not get taunted this turn. And this is another big decision for Dog. This is an extra 4 damage that VLPS has out right now. Does he need to taunt? And he feels like he does. I can't blame him for this. I think ideally he'd like to taunt up the Void Caller and have the threat of the extra demon coming out of it back behind this. But yeah, I think given the situation, if he takes that risk, that's an opportunity for him to die. And at this point, if the game keeps staying in attrition battle, that is such good news for VLPS.
Yeah. And Dog is going to be getting the Infernals every turn, but the thing is, outside of one more heal bot, Dog's never going to be able to get outside that 15 range. So like you said, that War of Attrition, as long as VLPS can keep somewhat of a board presence and may force Dog to use his taunts, then he'll be able to get through with the combo, which he hasn't even drawn full of yet. He still only has 10 damage from hand. And even if he does draw Faceless, he's still an Emperor away from being able to combo all the damage in a single turn.
Yeah, which Shadow Flame is going to be? He's going to choose to Shadow Flame off this Void Caller here. And unbeknownst to him, this is going to open him to Mind Control tech at this point from VLPS. But he gets that extra damage on the line. Oh, he's actually going to trade off the Defender Guardians.
Really smart stuff there.
Yeah, very keen play. I mean, this is a spot I think a lot of people just would use their life total, given they have Anti-Healbot and Sludge Belcher here. But now the fact that he's not vulnerable to Mind Control tech, this feels like it's so easy for him to stay ahead in the game now.
Yeah, well, BGH is a little bit late, I'd say, after 3 7+ health or 7+ attack minions were played onto the board. He finally draws it.
Second Void Caller. This game is looking like it could be all Dog.
Yeah, he picked up the pieces that he needed to, and VLPS is still just whiffing. He's got pretty much those 3 dead cards in his hand right now, with being Alexstrasza, Soulfire, and Leroy Jenkins. None of those cards are fantastic, by themselves. They're great in tandem with other things. Like if Leroy Jenkins gets reduced and he can fit in the combination, or if he plays Alexstrasza early on to bring Dog down, it's going to be tough, I think, for VLPS to climb back, even though it did seem like he was outvaluing Dog really heavily early on.
Yeah, so he's going to go for the trade here.
And once again, plays around Mind Control tech, doesn't even hero power.
This is crazy play from Dog. I mean, you thought he was playing around Mind Control tech before the trade. The fact that he foregoes the Infernal this turn, that's insanity.
Yeah.
Oh, but there's the Faceless Manipulator from VLPS. He's so close to being able to combo this.
But, I mean, he has to Dark Bomb this Anti-Killbot just to stay alive on board. And Dog still has a Sludge Belcher. So that's a big deal.
Damage from Dog this turn. Oh, there's the Mind Control tech too. So now Dog's free to overdevelop. Dog's seen all the AoE this game too. How does VLPS actually... Oh, 1 point of damage will end this game. Okay, no good Discover for him. I mean, at this point, he's seen all the AoE. He's seen Mind Control tech. Has he seen Iron Beak Owl yet? I think it's the one he hasn't seen.
Yeah, he hasn't seen Iron Beak Owl yet. Iron Beak Owl was used on he used his own Iron Beak Owl on a Twilight Drake from VLPS, but I don't think he's seen one.
You can get a nice little Undertaker buff there.
So underwhelming compared to the days of old.
Yeah, but it looks like he's going to trade both the minions into these guys as well.
I don't think there's a reason not to. He's seen pretty much every substantial AoE. He's seen Shadow Flame and Twisting Nether. And those are the two.
He's seen Hellfire and Demon Wrath too. He's actually seen
all 4? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. This game's been going on for a while. I haven't quite been able to see the Demon Wrath. Well, Ooze a little late, and Emperor Thorsan a bit late as well. I think that's been the story of the day here for VLPS so far.
Yeah, I'm just going to try to dig for answers, but there's nothing left in there. And that's it. I mean, it doesn't find the combo pieces in time, and VLPS just crumbles under the Drax's pressure. Dog, very safe there in the mid-late stages of the game. Like, playing around mind control tech the way he did, I mean, that took away one of the win conditions from VLPS, which was just mind control teching your opponent's strongest minion, and then being able to keep the tempo afterwards. Very keen play from Dog in that one.
Yeah, and I think the only risk he took in that game was the turn where he decided not to taunt up. That was the only risk he took, and he was at 16 health, and that was the turn before he was about to play Jiraxis. So that was pretty much the only window where he was able to take a risk. And so he made sure that he did it on that turn, so he had a lot of room moving forward. Every other turn he played safe, even going as far as to Dark Bomb a 3-2 to make sure that he wasn't going to be in range of combo. That was expertly played by Dog, I feel.
Yep. Second Zombie Chow deck in a row for Dog at this point. Like you said, this is a mid-range Paladin deck. VLPS has brought Priest to the table here. With a copy of Flash Heal and Acolyte Pain, you better believe you're going to find some Alkanite Soul Priest in here as well. And at least Starseeker for the long game plan. Now, Dog come firing early, and I know that Paladin... It's kind of like... It's almost like tricky how much it feels like Paladin is favored in this matchup. And the way I think they're mostly favored is in the early stages of the game. If the Priest doesn't really check the early aggression, they have to use a lot of tools to fight back on the board. But if they get the board early, the Paladin kind of struggles to ever regain that control. And so with this start from Dog, do you think that, do you feel like he has the advantage in this game because of that? Or do you feel like that VLPS is still got a really good fighting chance in this one?
I think VLPS has a fighting chance just because the way this deck is set up. Priest used to be a deck where once you run out of stuff, you're out of stuff. But with this new type of Priest, you always have Burst with the Flash Heal. You also have Elite Starseeker, so you have that longevity. But Dog also has a sneaky little card there tucked away in his hand, just a card, True Heart. The 1/1s, similar to against Control Warrior, where they don't have a hero power that interacts with the board, those 1/1s provide so much value later on in the game when both players are sort of out of powerful cards. And so this is going to be close, I feel, just because of the way these decks work. But Dog's already put on so much pressure. He's got the Juster card, True Heart. It's going to be a while before VLPS is able to get a lot going. And so I still feel that Dog is going to be favored.
Yeah, goes ahead and plays the Outdoor Peacekeeper here. Wants to keep pressure on the board. The Holy Nova did a great job cleaning this board up. But still on the offensive, VLPS does have a lot of tools to slow this down, though. It picks up Light Bomb, too. That's such an important one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just card True Heart. Get it rolling. Okay.
Does have a couple of options here, too, though. I mean, at this point, when he lands the Justice card here, I feel like his plan just completely shifts away from the aggressive stance he took. Like, okay, the aggressive stance got cleared up. My opponent played a Sludge Belcher to back that up. The aggression's gone at this point. Now he needs to ride that hero power for quite a while here to make up for the loss that the Holy Nova caused on this board. VLPS just going to go for Elite Starseeker and heal.
Yeah, so now you just hero power every turn. He plays really heavily into Light Bomb if he plays Dr. Boom and smacks the face here. He could play Dr. Boom and trade. I would be okay with that play. You don't really have burst finishers as a paladin. You might have a Blessing of Kings and a True Silver Champion. 8 damage burst is what you top out at as a paladin, and that's for 8 mana. So the aggressive line is not as important, and I like how he plays a little bit around Light Bomb here, and he fits in that hero power, like you mentioned, riding that out.
Yeah, and so this is the spot I think where the game could potentially go in VLPS's favor. Like if he keeps using his cards right over the next couple turns, it's going to be pretty easy for him to clean up most of this board pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to choose to heal up to Wild Pyromancer here. So Dog set up to trade this Justicar here well, but given that VLPS is at 13, he may have some different ideas in mind here.
Yeah, he's still got lots of tools, though. Entomb is, the ultimate counter to Tyrion Forging. Light Bomb is a reset against a class that has trouble reloading the board in mid-range Paladin. Cabal Shadow Priest, again, there's so many cards that thing can take that are fantastic in mid-range Paladin. Shielded Minibot, Haunted Creeper, which I think Dog runs 2 in this mid-range Paladin deck. And worst comes to worst, you take a 1/1, which there's always going to be one of those. There's a plethora of those in this deck.
Yeah, just going to go with Dr. Boom here. Man, Dog had so many decisions last turn. He could have gone for Aldor trades. He could have gone for Aldor, Keeper of Uldamon, to clear the board and keep a little bit of pressure on his side. Goes for Dr. Boom this turn instead. I mean, is he feeling like maybe VLPS doesn't have a Light Bomb, or is just going to have to expend a ton if he wants to Entomb this? Yeah, just going to Light Bomb. Don't blame him for that one. And this is one spot once again. Like, the Light Bomb does a good job clearing this up, but Dog just keeps getting initiative turn after turn. And to me, that's the big deal in this game, is that Dog is kind of the one maintaining his footing in this game.
Yeah.
Like, look, VLPS just AoEs, 5/1/1s, go.
Yeah. And he plays around Cabal Shadow Priest nicely here, making sure that he buffs up the Haunted Creeper as opposed to one of the 1/1 hero powers. And now it's going to be tough. VLPS finds his own Justicar Trueheart, but can't even fit it in that turn. Can't even double dip with those hero powers.
Yeah, once again, this is the interesting part about Paladin to me, is how many options that Keeper Moldavon gives you turn after turn. Like, when is the right time to use this card? And so here he's taking it just like, he goes, you know what, 5 damage is enough on this Death Lord. I need to take this right now. Looks like he's going to muster for battle. Keep the Keeper of Uldamon as fresh as he can. It's protecting it from Light Bomb, and it's protecting it from I
think he might even trade in the Keeper.
Yeah, just trade.
Yeah.
Pulling the Quartermaster out doesn't feel very good.
No, not at all. Especially when you have that many 1/1s on the board, and he doesn't get the maximum value of this hero power, but he's still. Ooh, that doesn't. I mean, it allows him to clear up the 1/1s, but look how much damage he's taking. He's taking 8, 9 damage at least. He can play that and Cabal Shadow. No, he wouldn't be able to. He could Cabal Shadow Priest the Quartermaster.
Just Flash Shield here to keep him topped up, clear up the 1/1s, take that 2/4. That's left over. Dangerous spot for him, though. I mean, if Dog can manage to clear up the next couple of turns very well, I feel like VLPS is really in trouble. And the hero power is just going to keep churning as well.
Yeah. And this is also where, like you mentioned, the hero power comes into play even more so, because Dog's out of stuff, or sorry, VLPS is out of stuff to start removing the board. If he picks up that Alkanai Soul Priest, he's going to have a play.
Ooh, second Death Lord. Provide a little bit of a wall here for VLPS. That's kind of exactly what he needs right now, too. I mean, being at 7 and Dog completely using all of his... Like, Dog's out of resources at this point. So it's a matter of whether or not this next card can get through it. Tyrion right after the Entomb gets used.
Wow.
Wow, that is a huge draw. VLPS needs some heat behind this, or this game is going to be done quick.
I mean, I even mentioned it earlier. I said Entomb is one of the best ways to deal with Tyrion Fordring. I think it is hands down the best. Because not only do you not give them the Ashbringer, but you put a Tyrion in your deck, which is nuts as a priest, I feel. And so now without that Entomb, I feel like the Entomb last turn was necessary by VLPS to allow him to clear off some of the board and allow him to hold on to his own. But Zombie Chow is probably the worst draw he could have gotten from this deck, and looks like it's over.
That draw of the Zombie Chow is nailed in the coffin. VLPS never finds an Alkanai this game, and that's something that Priest is always kind of victim to, is that it's got a lot of these 2-card combos in its deck, that when you draw them and you're able to utilize them very well, like, that's where Priest pulls ahead, is it gets so much value from 2-card combinations that the hero power topping you back up to 30 and then just relying on the sheer raw power of your cards afterwards, that's like the bread and butter of that deck. But when you kind of draw it piece by piece and you have one piece left hanging, that's when Priest kind of looks like it's at its worst. I mean, if you looked at that game, Circle of Healing was a dead card almost the entire time. So much so that he was forced to Entomb a 3/3 Divine Shield just so he can keep controlling the board because the pressure Dog was pushing out there. And then that Tyrion afterwards. Wow. I mean, what better draw could he have possibly got? I mean, I guess Quartermaster would have been really good there as well. But one of them got pulled out from the Death Lord there too. It's just, you get that Justicar hero power rolling, you are going to be able to keep pressure on Priest the entire game.
Yeah, very true. And now we're going to roll into one of my favorite matchups. Control Warrior versus Control Warrior. Now, we don't know for sure yet. Dog still could be patron, but I highly doubt it. And yep, there's some Shield Maidens.
Who's ready to tank up?
Yep, that's basically, and you can see both players sort of hard mulliganing there. And this is a matchup where you need to hard mulligan for at least Starseeker and Justicar Trueheart. Given that those are the versions that they're playing, there are some weird versions that some people have been playing lately with Iron Juggernauts and Youthful Brewmasters. I went over to Singapore to cast the Singapore Major, and there was actually like 5 players that were bringing Control Warrior deck that didn't run Elise Starseeker, but ran double Youthful Brewmaster and Iron Juggernaut, and Deathlords and Cold Light Oracles.
That's a big nod to the style of play in their area too. They know that people are going to be playing these long-term control decks, and so they feel like rather than fill my deck with legendaries, I can just fill my opponent's deck with Burrowing Mines.
Yeah,
and that'll be enough to get it. And Elise found for VLPS right on turn 4. I mean, like you mentioned, this is kind of the play that VLPS is looking for. And now at this point, he's got 2 very different options how to play this game. Yeah. Number 1 is he can kind of race towards the Golden Monkey and try to get so many legendaries that he can outright kill Dog based on his just his card value individually. Mm-hmm. The second option is to continue to try to play the fatigue game and let Elise kind of be like your silver bullet card at the end, with the Golden Monkey turning his last few dead cards into legendaries.
Yeah.
But he's kind of the one in control of that scenario, unless Dog can manage to put him on a back foot and force him to use cards in a way he doesn't want to. So this is that's the advantage you get from drawing Elise early on, and that's why it's so important.
Yeah, he just needs that Justicar Trueheart. You want to make sure in this matchup that even if you do get Elise early and get the map early, you wait until you get the Justicar Trueheart most of the time before you end up playing that Golden Monkey. Even if you're going for the game plan of the super aggressive Golden Monkey early, fill your deck with legendaries and try and win from there. But I feel like that is the best. I played a lot of this matchup, and I feel like the best way, given both players have early Elise and early Justicar, is to Golden Monkey early. Because even though your opponent's going to have removal, they're not going to have the threats to match your threats. So eventually you're just going to, push them out of the game as long as you don't get a terrible draw of legendaries, like multiple Nat Pagels, multiple like Blood Mage Thanoses and things like that.
Yeah, VLPS kind of a victim of his own hand right now. Got the early Elise, but his follow-up afterwards is just so bad. 2 copies of Brawl, 2 copies of Acolyte, and the Death Spite's not really being effective lining up versus the Sludge Belchers right now. Back to buy a second one. This is looking pretty bad for VLPS suddenly.
Yeah. So Dog is holding off on his shield blocks, and in the past, people will tell you in the Control Warrior Mirror, never draw. And a lot of people will still tell you that, never draw. But if your opponent has played one of those key cards, like Elise Starseeker, Justicar Trueheart, and you haven't found them yet, sometimes it is okay to draw, because if you wait, the longer you wait, the more value your opponent's sort of gaining. Oh, wow.
That is going to really change this game. The fact that Elise gets pulled out here, Dog kind of loses that button as his longevity. Oh, I don't know about this one, TJ.
I don't know if it's even possible to win if Elise Starseeker comes out of your deck, unless Justicar Trueheart is like VLPS's last card and Monkey is like VLPS's last card. I don't know if it's even possible. A lot of times you see players not even kill Deathlord in this matchup until they've played both of those cards, because it's too risky to have one of those key cards pulled out of your deck.
Yeah, so VLPS chooses to draw here with the Slam, and a lot of that's coming from the fact that Dog chose to use Shield Block last turn. Every single time Dog draws a card, VLPS knows that he can draw a card and stay kind of even in the fatigue race because of that.
Yeah.
So when you hear players say they never want to draw, what they really mean is they're kind of reluctant to initiate drawing cards, because if their opponent has good responses to it, it means that they're the ones who can kind of control the waiting game. They pull ahead in the fatigue race, and it puts a lot of pressure on you. But at this point, the Elise being gone completely changes the way he has to play this game. I think he has to get going, and that's going to open him up to things like VLPS's Brawl right here. It's going to make this second Death Spite get a lot better. The fact that he had to Harrison Jones drew another card from it. If Dog doesn't put together enough pressure here and keep VLPS's life total in check, that's really a spot for VLPS to try to win the game. And look, Dog's just decided at this point, you know what, I'm just going to load up the Acolytes and start going here. I have to kill VLPS or he has inevitability.
Feels like nowadays this matchup even rarely comes down to fatigue, just because both players end up dropping bombs in the late game. With the golden monkey, that you oh wow, okay, well,
Yeah.
I would be surprised if Dog, he'll probably stay in this game, just because this is the semifinals of a feature tournament, but this is one of those games where you're just like, yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna piece together a win. The strongest minion he probably has left in his deck is Justicar True Heart. Not based off of its effect, but like the strongest body minion he has left in his deck.
Maybe a Grom's left in here.
Oh yeah, Grom too. Yeah, Grom could be a card, but is Grom going to be enough to win him a game? But yeah, Grom will probably do 10 damage first, but it's going to be removed right away. Yeah, there is the Grom.
How often do you see 4 acolytes on board, TJ?
In a control warrior mirror, rarely.
in any matchup, really.
If ever.
Is this an opportunity for Dog to force card draws here, though? Like, is there a way he can force VLPS to draw too many cards here?
The most he can force him to draw is 4 if he hits both acolytes twice, and then the natural draw from VLPS will be 5. VLPS still won't overdraw. So he can force him to draw, but fatigue might be a win condition in that scenario. He'd have to put on a lot of pressure. He does have bash. I mean, there is a small chance that Dog wins this matchup if he just keeps hitting face and draws things that go face in the next couple turns. But it's just going to be tough for him to do so, I think. We'll have to see, though, because VLPS is running out of stuff.
Looks like no activation from the Despite this turn. Decides to slow it down just a little bit. Deck sizes matter so much at this point, too. Yeah, there's a Shield Slam. No surprise.
Oh, he doesn't want to pull the Golden Monkey out, though.
Has he cast the map yet?
Oh, has he cast the map yet?
I don't think he has.
Okay, well, if he hasn't cast the map, then he's free to kill that Deathlord no matter what. Because he's played both his... Oh, yeah, okay, so he still does have the map. So, yeah, that's definitely... You want to remove that before you draw into the map and before you play the map.
Yeah, I imagine that VLPS is going to be keen enough to know that once he's seen the Deathlord, it's very likely that Dog's got a second copy of it with it. And so to hold on to the map is going to be like the play here. He does not want the Golden Monkey to even be able to be pulled out of his deck via a Deathlord. And so because of that, he's just going to hang on to the map until he can ensure he draws Golden Monkey with it.
And Dog can kill off his own Deathlord. It's actually not that uncommon in this matchup, just because you can throw in your Deathlord and then brawl. And then you either win the brawl or your Deathlord dies, his monkey pops out, and you win the brawl. So in both scenarios, you sort of win the brawl in some sense or another. But Dog does have a lot of resources, but he's got 4 cards left. Is that going to be enough to win in the game?
Well, VLPS has got 6 left in his deck, it looks like.
And one of those is going to be a monkey when he eventually decides to use the map. So that's sort of going to be the one that makes or breaks this game, especially since he's got a lot of those dead cards. Like the Double Revenge is not going to be of much use. Those are going to be legendaries. Harrison Jones is probably going to be a legendary.
Yeah, doesn't have to do anything to the Boombot this turn. The Dr. Boom this turn. Just the Brawl takes care of it. And then second Deathlord. And tank up. Yeah, I feel like Dog's just, at this point, it's kind of been pushed out of this one. The fact that his Elise got drawn from the Deathlord.
And just cards in his last brutal. 3 cards.
Yeah, everything just kind of went wrong for Dog this game.
Yeah. Oh man, this is just really rough for him.
It's kind of tough to say how this would have panned out if it wasn't for Deathlord really putting a big deciding factor on this. I mean, I think both of them have been playing this one really well, using their resources fantastic. Even Dog kind of recognizing he needed to turn the corner and try to actually kill VLPS, and now it's just kind of falling apart at this point. I mean, this is the disadvantage of drawing cards. Is if you can't finish your opponent, they just win the fatigue race.
Yeah.
VLPS looks like even reluctant to play a Shield Maiden here. Says,
it's his last card. Discard Sword is his last card.
Yeah, that's brutal. You have 10 cards in hand next turn, so is never going to have an opportunity to overdraw. VLPS says, at this point, I know that Justicard's your last card. I know what's happening here. I'm free to just slowly develop the board, piece by piece, and keep chipping away.
Oh, man. Everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong for Dog in this game. You know, at least coming out of the Deathlord and then Justicard True Heart being the last card. At least he didn't kill both Death Lords and have his Elise and his Justicar come out. I guess that's the one way this game could have been worse. But it was close.
It's bad enough as it is.
Yeah.
You know, either the Justicar or the Elise getting pulled is bad. If you had to pick one, I think you would choose Justicar. But then the Justicar being the 30th card, like that's it couldn't have gone worse for him this game. This was the nightmare.
Yeah. And look at these cards. VLPS still has, you know, a couple of big minions left, and even then he's got double shield block and double revenge. That's at least 4 legendaries for cards that are never going to be used.
Yep. Dog gonna seem to play this one out. I don't know what he could possibly fish for at this point, but you know, you can't blame anyone for sticking it out. You know, you can see the difference here too. I mean, VLPS not having to use either shield blocks gives such a big advantage this game. I'm not even sure he plays Gold Monkey. Yeah, I think he just Grom and attack for 4.
Yeah, because Grom is one of the best legendaries that you can get. So your Grom's going to turn into a legendary, probably one that's worse than your Grom.
Dog's hope this game is actually kind of, I think, that VLPS plays Gold Monkey and gets a bad set of legendaries. I think that quite literally was his win condition this game.
Yeah. But Golden Monkey might even... No.
I'm just not able to hit the board.
Yeah. I think at this point, you're winning the Fatigue War, I think, by 3 cards. So you might as well just play the minions.
Here we go. 7 Nat Paggles. Not quite.
A new Barak as well. So that's in Nazdormu. I feel like Nazdormu on ladder is one of the best legendaries that you can get. Because everybody's always like alt-tabbed, and then you slam Nazdormu.
Checking out Reddit.
Instantly end turn. I feel like I've won games like that so many times.
Yeah,
all right, well,
slam it down.
Yeah, I just don't think Dog's gonna win. As soon as he sees this new Barak, I'd expect him to tap out. And that is, yeah. And VLPS is gonna go dip out of his chair to do a victory dance after that one.
You got to get up and stretch after those matches, man. Those are long ones.
Control Warrior Mirrors, I can only play about 2 of those a day before I'm just burnt and I need a nap.
Before he's out of 24 hours.
Yeah. All right, well, that's VLPS at least putting himself on the board 2-1 now, and still has to. He's going up against Rogue, which, you know, if we know Dog, I'd imagine it's Malagos Rogue, because that's what he's been playing the majority of the time in his tournaments, and his second place finish at I-57, the True Silver something or other.
Zomia True Silver Championship.
Yeah, there you go. The True Silver Championship. Gotcha. And also that's what he plays on his stream. I even read it like an hour ago and I couldn't even remember the name. And that deck does really well against Priest. Most of the time. We saw actually in the finals of that tournament, Dog lost against a Priest with the Malagos Rogue. But it was because, you know, all similar to that Warrior game we just saw, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And Dog also has Control Warrior, which lines up pretty nicely against a lot of these decks, I'd say, that VLPS still has remaining.
Yeah, not a big surprise to see VLPS queue up the Hunter here. This is traditionally one of the matchups that can put a lot of heat on Rogue and force them to use cards very ineffectively, and then also clock them with that hero power. And so with this match, Dog's going to have to find a way to get aggressive at some point in this game. He's going to need to stick something on the board and start hitting VLPS in the face over and over with it. Now, VLPS's goal is simply to force Dog into a position where he can't do that. He wants him to have to trade those Tomb Pillagers into minions. He wants him to not have those Earthen Ring Farseers early on so that he can't find a way to effectively fight the board state. And given that he just draws Mad Scientist here, you know, I'd be curious to see what the traps are in VLPS's deck. But turn 3 Earthen Ring Farseer, and then having Prep and Tomb Pillager and Antique Healbot behind, this is the kind of matchup that Dog can actually win with this game.
Yeah, I'd say so. Tomb Pillager, I think, improved this matchup a lot because it increases the chance that you're able to win via race. 5 attack on a 4-mana minion is exceptional. And even though this deck doesn't run like oils, unless we haven't seen Malagos yet, so we can't pinpoint it yet, but if he does run it, it probably doesn't run oil, so it can't race in that regard. But having stronger minions and having some extra heals and some extra cycle can sometimes lead to that. And I think Dog's in a great spot, given the average aggressive hunter versus rogue match.
Yeah, I mean, even using the prep here, it kind of illustrates the importance of what that card means in this matchup. It allows you to eventually take the tempo from the hunter player. So despite the fact that it's like pretty horribly inefficient in this spot, the point is it gives him the tempo back. And given that he's seen this kind of opener from VLPS, it looks to me like Dog has concluded that this is explosive trap. And against this build, that's totally fine and reasonable to assume. Face Hunter, one of the ways it loses the game also is that they just get swarmed by little tiny minions, and your opponent just gets all the favorable trades. They get all the good attacks. They use one card to swing that race. So here, the fact that VLPS the fact that Dog has gotten back a 5-4 and a 3-3 here, it means that now he's in a position where he can actually win this race. He's down on life right now, but he's going to start hitting VLPS turn after turn with these cards. That's exactly where he wants to be.
Yeah, which would be crazy. A lot of times Face Hunter, even Hybrid Hunter, can get through so many points of healing and still be able to come out with a win. And this will be, at the end of the day, 3 from the Earthring Farseer and 8 from the Antigua. That's 11 points of healing. That's actually not that much compared to the sheer amount of damage that an aggressive hunter can do. And Dog's still not that close to piecing together lethal damage of his own.
Yeah, this is the spot where VLPS is going to have a little bit of trouble now. I mean, he's got no board left. He's facing down 8 damage. He knows that he doesn't have that many more disruption tools left in his deck. Can he afford to invest the kill command and the quick shot into this board state to stop the damage? Or does he need to just go, you know what, maybe I can't win the game in a couple turns and have to start throwing spells at the face and hope that works?
Well, if he ignores his board, he's dead in 3 turns. And judging by his hand, and how much mana he has available to him, he's not going to be able to kill Dog in 3 turns from 22, it feels like, because the maximum amount of damage in his hand is 8 plus 6. Right now it's 14. Even if he fits in a hero power and plays all of his cards in the next 3 turns, it's still only 20 damage. So he'd have to draw additional burn and find ways to put in. So, looks like VLPS
here we go,
on the burn
boys.
plan.
And this is kind of Dog's last hurrah right here. I mean, may choose to prep the fan here to try to find something a little bit more valuable. But at this point, I got to believe that this is very heavily favored on Dog's side right now. 13 damage on board, plus the 1 from the hero power. I mean, kill command at this. I mean, now it looks like VLPS might have gone, hey, I could have used that quick shot on that 5-2 last turn, maybe saved myself a turn or so. I mean, the fact that he saw the Emperor afterwards, kind of brutal for him. But this is it. I mean, is he trading the Emperor here? There's no way, right? Yeah. 6 to face. Gadgets and Auctioneer for Dog. But he's at 11.
He got an Emperor tick, and he got an additional mana from the Arcane Golem. So he needs to find, if he finds what? Sinister Strike? No.
Damage. He's got 12 with the Shiv. It looks like he was considering shiving face here. Yeah, but I like the fan.
Yeah, he can clear the board here, and I don't think it's possible for a hunter to do 11 damage from an empty board with 7 mana. I don't think it's possible. Because they with 8 mana they could, but not with 7. So I don't think. Yeah.
It's funny that if Dog, would he have won if he had gone for the damage? He would have won this turn. He's going to win this game anyway, but this game was illustrated the importance of getting a threat on the board and actually putting a clock on the hunter player. They don't do well when they're functioning against a clock and their board's been disrupted. That's really the big difference in this one. So close, but so far. VLPS falls in game number 4. Dog's got a 3-1 lead at this point, and that's got to be very comfortable. Now, I know that I have been in a similar position to this in the ONOG feature number 1, where I was up 3-0 versus Eversiction, and then he reverse swept me.
Yeah. I think that was the day you decided. Didn't you get? Oh no. You got in the winter prelims. I think you got swept with Secret Paladin. That was the day you said never to play Secret Paladin again.
Yeah.
And then in the ONOG, you got swept with Aggro Shaman.
Zoo. I got swept with
Zoo. Okay. It was Zoo. Yeah. Was that the day you decided to never play Zoo again?
No, I'll keep playing Zoo. Eversiction's lineup was actually built really well to tackle Zoo.
Yeah.
And so I got 4 pretty mediocre starts, which is fine. I mean, 4 average starts. I'll take 4 average starts. And he just got just enough to fight me off every single game. I made a couple of errors in that series as well.
Every single game. I remember casting that series, and I was thinking, oh my goodness. Just finding the answers right on time. And Eversection, of course, being the first player that's going to be joining us at PAX Prime for the finals at the end of the season. Of course, the winner for this feature number 2 will join him as the second player. So that's what's on the line here. That's what's at stake. Also a $6,000 prize pool. So that's an added bonus for these players. And Dog right now is up 3-1 in this first semifinal.
Yeah, this is a bit of a tough matchup, though. Priest versus Control Warrior. Control Warrior has so many tools that it uses to fight against aggressive styles of decks. It wants to kill basically every threat their opponent plays and then restabilize the game with its life total, using Armor Up, using Tank Up, using Shield Maiden, stuff like that. But against Control Priest, their plan is kind of to out-attrition their opponents. Like, have cards that get very effective long-term swings in the build. Harrison Jones, one of these cards, being able to take out a weapon and draw some extra cards. He's going to back this up with Death Lords. He's going to back this up with Entombs. He's just going to kill all the high-profile threats and then rely on Fatigue to win this race. But Dog has smartly done this to where he's looking like he's taking the aggressive stance. Now the Harrison Jones has clocked him for 5, and VLPS is going to have to find a way to fight against this. Sunfelter's a fantastic answer, of course. But this is the kind of position Dog needs to be playing. He needs to be finding windows of opportunity to start getting through consistent damage and keep pressure on VLPS, so he has to ineffectively use the tool at some point in the game.
Yeah, and VLPS's deck, his lineup is, or his deck list is built in a way where it's has some strong points against Dog's Control Warrior deck, but it's also got some weak points. Flash Shield's not that strong because you're rarely going to find a situation where you can burst out your opponent. A lot of times it's used to just clear off a Shield Maiden with an Alkanized Soul Priest, which is still strong. But you really want those super late game tools like double Entomb and additional AoE and your own Elite Starseeker to be able to fight back, because Priest kind of does what the Warrior's going to do. They do the whole minion thing a little better because they have a hero power that can interact with the board and they can steal your stuff as well as having their stuff. But they do tend to fall a little bit behind in the fatigue battle just because, Warriors can go above 30. So I love this matchup.
The way that Elise flies around with that visual, when a player draws a card and plays it super fast, the visual from the spectator is that the minion kind of clings to the side of the board in that elevated position. That animation, just like, it looked like, it's what I imagine the Reckless Rocketeer's attack animation should be.
Yeah.
Where it just kind of like wildly zooms around. Back to normal war position. At least for both players at this point. Dog's got to be happy with his Elise. He'll be I imagine he'll be utilizing that same thing that we saw in VLPS in the Warrior game, where if he actually draws the map, there's a chance he holds onto it until he can ensure the draw of the Golden Monkey. So that way it can't be thought stolen, it can't be pulled up by Death Lord, things of that nature.
Yeah.
And so because of that, VLPS actually has a little bit of an advantage in this one. He's kind of free to unlock his Golden Monkey a little bit sooner than Dog would. And then also that threat of entombing on the Golden Monkey is also a big deal.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because having a lot of dead cards as a priest in this matchup works to your advantage because it gives you more incentive to turn them into legendaries. So we talked about how one of the weaknesses of priests is that they have dead cards, but in this matchup, it's a strength.
Yeah. There's an Alkanai he was missing a little bit earlier. Gonna get some great use out of it this turn, though. Flash Shield, taking out that Elise, and then Hero Power on that Big Game Hunter. Great turn for VLPS.
It was a little risky once again for Dog to kill the Death Lord so willy-nilly, but he realized that he played the Elise, which is the more important piece. He could have pulled out just a card True Heart from his deck, but I think he was willing to take the risk. I think it was probably like a 1 in 6, 1 in 7 chance, judging by how many minions I think he has left, like an Acolyte, maybe another Shield Maiden. So he's willing to take the risk once again, saying, maybe I probably can't get as unlucky as I did in that Control Warrior mirror, so I'm just going to go for it.
You can't get unlucky forever, that's the case. Unless you're me or Randad.
Yeah.
Dr. Boom for VLPS. That's not the Entombed one either, right? Does it say if it's Entombed or not?
It should, yeah, but I don't know from Spectator if we see it right away. We'd have to mouse over it, I think. No, it's not the Entombed one, so we got a real quick look at it there.
So still another Dr. Boom back in VLPS's deck. Dog just going to Shield Slam this, and imagine keep hammering away. this Boombot isn't really that significant of a threat right now. And so for Dog, like, he's running low on resources. This is the time he's got to get a lot of mileage out of these minions if he wants to make something happen here. And VLPS, his tools don't really line up super well versus this board. Oh, major good Boombot there.
That's great, because now he actually has a use. Ooh, I was thinking he was going to Cabal Shadow Priest, but I guess that slime isn't going anywhere. So if he really wants to, he can just do it next turn.
That's the second Entomb from VLPS at this point, too. That's really interesting. I mean, typically you do not see a player use the second Entomb in this matchup. And I think that the fact that VLPS has already cast his own Elise, and that he can't just keep taking 5 damage over and over again, this is the kind of position the Dog was looking for, was to force VLPS to use the tool inefficiently. Now, that Golden Monkey is potentially a big win condition for him.
Yeah, it might come down to the quality of legendaries that the Golden Monkey pulls from each player. VLPS does get Justicar Trueheart first, but unlike in the Control Warrior Mirror, it's not as big of a deal, because at some point you can just sort of expect that the Priest is going to be at 30 health eventually if they manage to stabilize on the board. So we'll see if Dog can pull his before his 30th card this time around. But he's running out of resources now. You mentioned earlier he had to get a lot of mileage out of his minions, but that just didn't happen, and now he's just out of stuff.
Yeah, I'm even debating the Shield Slam here. I don't blame him for this whatsoever. Is this 5 going to face, or is it taking out that Wild Pyro? Yeah, the Wild Pyromancer are just so threatening. Any minion on board is really threatening for the Priest at this point. Like, he's seen that VLPS has been holding on to so many cards this game. It's very likely that he's got Felon's Chosen in hand. And if he does it, he just loses his minion. So at this point, once again, that 5 damage coming in, but now VLPS has played the Justicar, so this 5 damage isn't worth nearly as much as it was a couple turns ago. And Auchenai just such a welcome draw in this matchup, just continuing to clear minion after minion.
And you can see why VLPS decided not to play the Cabal Shadow Priest before. The reason is in Dog's hand, the Death Lord. He knows that Dog runs that double Death Lord. That's sort of what you need to try and pull out the Golden Monkey in this matchup. And that's also why Dog just, Justicar Trueheart, I suppose. That's one of the reasons why Dog didn't play it, I think. Because he doesn't want it to get stolen, and then doesn't want it to stick around for a while since he doesn't have a way to remove it and potentially pull out something that he just want out of his deck, like his Justicar Trueheart.
Yeah, getting a little bit low on cards is Dog. Deck size is also very important in this matchup. I mean, another thing about that Entomb from earlier, where VLPS chose to use that second Entomb, if he's just far enough ahead in fatigue, he can just wear Dog down. Like, the fact that the Golden Monkey ends up sticking to the board is really not that big of an issue.
Yeah.
Shadow Word Death to answer this, so just going to continue to heal up. Close to 30 at this point. All that work that Dog did, it was to get that second Entomb out. Is basically the one thing he can take away from that big investment.
Yeah. But now we got a monkey in the deck.
Needs to draw that sooner rather than later as well. Do you think he'd like to see the Justicar before or after he draws the Golden Monkey?
Oh, before. For sure. Unless he has confidence in his ability to create a Justicar Trueheart with his monkey.
Even Bash on the Northshire Cleric. I mean, the concern for Felon's Chosen is very real for Dog at the moment.
I can take the hit.
Oh, there's that Shield Maiden. Yep, above 30. Rarely you see a Priest in that spot.
Yeah. I lied. I said earlier that without Justicar Trueheart being played yet, I guess he realizes that at this point he just needs to start getting those legendaries. Ooh. And he picks up an Anubarak.
And Mogre the Ogre here is actually, I mean, this is not a bad minion to have at this point. Just anything that's big is what Dog needs on board right now.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, Dog has become VLPS. That's what happens when you play the Golden Monkey. All right, we're back. But yeah, Anubarak, especially since you talked about so much the risk of using that second Entomb early, and one of those is even after Golden Monkey is played, there's a couple of legendaries that can just lose you the game. Malorn and Anubarak are two that just have sort of infinite value in the late game. They make it so it's not impossible to fatigue, at least with Anubarak, but it gets close to it, you know, because they have a minion to reload every single turn, and even if it dies, it still leaves something on the board. So we'll definitely have to see. This one's going to come down to it. VLPS needs his own monkey to combat this.
So. There's the light bomb. Not surprised to see. And Cabal Shadow Priest sticks around. If Dog had played that Foe Reaper, this would have been a really interesting turn. Kel'Thuzad even gets picked up.
Oh my goodness. The quality of legendaries for Dog is through the roof. If his last card is a Malorn, he's got like the trifecta. Like eventually you'll have Kel'Thuzad, Anubarak, and Malorn like all stick. And then it just becomes ridiculous because a Malorn gets put back in your deck and it comes back at the end of the turn. It's like, what? It's infinite Malorns.
That's the one thing every player needs.
Yeah, infinite Malorns. Yeah.
Well, Deathlord not fantastic versus Anubarak. I think that VLPS is looking at a trade here.
The thing is, Deathlord's not going to pull anything out. Oh, well. Just going to plop back in the hand.
I think Dog may be looking at just Anubarak after Anubarak, but finally that Velen's chosen. 4-12 taunts, nothing to scoff at. Black Knight would be bad. Well, we have a second shot at Malorn, potentially.
If he's unhappy with his legendaries. The thing is, that's basically like a free extra card. Like at the very end of everything, you know?
Yeah.
The only thing is that in order to play the last Golden Monkey, he'll have to have Anubarak on the board already, or he'll have to potentially give up the Anubarak, unless in some miraculous circumstance, his Anubarak turns into an Anubarak.
Yeah, Dog is going to be forced to use his Kel'Thuzad here. Part of the major pressure that's coming out here, too, is that since VLPS has a heal for 4, because of that Justicar, he's able to actually deal with the Anubarak fairly well with the Deathlord for turn after turn and start setting Dog into that fatigue state where the damage really starts to add up. And so Dog has to find a way to get this board back under control, and Anubarak's not going to do it. Like, if he just keeps playing Anubarak after Anubarak, he's actually going to lose control over this board, and pretty quickly. So the fact that he's chosen to use this Foe Reaper here is a big nod to that fact. And VLPS has an answer for this as well with the second Velen's chosen. So this could actually be the end of the game right here. Just the fact that VLPS has been able to get kind of a Titan's grip on this board and keep Dog from really pulling ahead with that Anubarak.
Yeah, that Deathlord's going to be like impossible to get through, it feels like. And I mean, Dog still might have a shot as a desperation play to Elise into Monkey, into Deathwing, or something crazy like that, but even then that means a Light Bomb pretty much seals the deal. So it's going to be really tough. And Dog just rolling his eyes. He knew that those Velen's Chosens were there. It's just I don't think he really had a choice but to sort of go all in on the Golden Monkey early enough.
Yeah. There's the fatigue. Start rolling at this point. I don't know if Dog can climb out of this one.
All right.
He needs VLPS to make a mistake right here. If VLPS continues to trade, I think he's going to stay way ahead in this game.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he's got his sights set on, too.
I think it's going to be a second Light Bomb.
Yep, just play stuff.
Yeah, he's just going to ignore it. Okay. Oh, but the Kel'Thuzad!
Yeah, this is the kind of turn that Dog would have needed, but still with 2 Circle of Healings back behind, this is still going to be really tough. I mean,
these minions are never going to die.
Well, Kel'Thuzad's going to die, I can tell you that.
VLPS is, 3 turns ahead of Fatigue? He can draw if he wants to get closer to the Monkey. But at this point, he might not even need the Monkey to win the game. Just because he's getting multiple minion kills over and over again with the minions that he has on board. What's the best way to go about this?
I imagine it's going to involve some sort of circle healing. There's the Light Bomb. Light Bomb doesn't kill that Kel'Thuzad, though. Oh, it does, because of the extra damage.
Double Velen's Chosen.
I forgot about that. The double Velen's Chosen actually...
That's a clutch play. That is That is a really big deal, actually. But the thing is, now Dog gets 2 Anubaraks.
Yeah, but he doesn't have time to play him, though.
Yeah, you can. I don't think you'll ever find yourself in a situation where you can play both of them, especially since no matter what, it feels like Dog still has to kill this this Deathlord over 2 turns. He can play Mogor the Ogre and just hope that the Deathlord's attack misses, and that he can load up 2 minions on the board. But that's not really a risk that I think he can take. And VLPS finally finds the map and looks like he's going to draw the monkey.
Yeah, here we go. And I don't think he's actually trading into the Anubarak this turn. Putting the 4/4 on board so that we just kill the Deathlord outright. Yeah, chooses not to.
Those are mediocre legendaries. Tinkmaster Overspark can be good, especially if you can, land it automatically onto a, like 100% onto like an Anubarak to sort of get rid of that endless Anubarak effect. But Brand Bronzebeard's not that great. Trogzor's not that great in a land where there's no more spells left in the game.
There's that map left.
Oh, there is the map left.
Oh, Confessor Paeltris.
The last card. That legendary is pretty good, and we'll see what he's going to get. Not Nat Pagel. The Beast? I don't know about the Beast.
Yeah, Dog doesn't have a way to actually kill the Confessor this turn either.
Unless he plays Mogor the Ogre and prays.
That might be the best play, honestly. Because if he lets these minions, if he keeps the Confessor Paeltris up, that's 1 more legendary guaranteed that VLPS gets. Like, that he basically just creates a card for free. And I don't know if he'll ever be able to get through to that Beast, which means that the downside will never play into effect. If he just plays a Nubarak here, probably just gets traded into, it feels like. So, I'm not sure. Because even if you play Morgor the Ogre, first you have to land the 50% that it doesn't attack the minion that you chose. And then you have to land the 1 and 4 to attack the Confessor Paeltris, which is really rare. But it's not something that's going to happen easily. So Dog realizes that just play the strongest minion once again and finally push through the Deathlord. I don't know if this is enough, though. I mean, VLPS's board is looking so good right now.
Ooh, what's it going to be?
Extra legendaries every single turn. Captain Greenskin not like too fantastic here. But the damage is starting to pour on at this point. And I think that's the scarier thing. Dog's going to have to hope for a miracle here.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to play the monkey and hope for the best. Maybe attack into the Beast to get that extra minion, the extra attack next turn. And we'll see if he replaces what he gets with something good.
Yeah, not quite. It's going to double the power of the Castrilla.
The Skeleton Knight is also potentially infinite value. No. Wait, what happens? No, because they're T's.
What happens is the game ends because VLPS takes the board and has Confessor active.
You automatically lose Joust if it's if both players are fatigued, if I remember correctly. I know I've seen that before.
That matchup really honestly boiled down to the Velen's Chosens and that Deathlord. It just got so much value at the end of the game. The Dog didn't have an opportunity to take the board back. And despite the fact that he landed the Golden Monkey so early, he didn't really have utility in his legendaries. He just had raw power. And the lack of that utility meant the Deathlord just, a 6/14 that can be healed for 4 a turn is going to do a lot of work. And that kept VLPS ahead that entire game. And that's part of what makes the Control Warrior versus Priest matchup so very difficult, is that they get the liberty of playing their Golden Monkey afterwards. They get to continue to use all their spells effectively to kind of figure out what their game plan needs to be, and then just wait. And the longer they wait, eventually that fatigue damage adds up to so much that you can't fight through it anymore.
Yeah. That Deathlord killed 10 Anubaraks and 9 Nerubians. And it's funny because Anubarak was a boss at the end of a heroic dungeon in Wrath of the Lich King. And it's sort of funny that players used to farm that dungeon a lot for whatever type of currency that World of Warcraft used to use back then for heroic dungeons. So that Death Lord really wanted to save up his seals to buy a piece of epic loot.
Man, we're going way roleplay on this one.
Way back. Good job, Death Lord. You didn't even need the rest of your 4 party. You were the tank and the healer.
Combo Reno Warlock versus Golden Monkey Control Warrior for Dog. This is a matchup that I know that players go back and forth on. A lot of the Control Warrior players will tell you they're very favored, but then a lot of the Reno players tell you, no, this matchup's easy. I beat them every time. It's not a big deal. TJ, if you had to choose a bet for your life, who are you taking in this one?
It's really tough because I don't even know, man. I feel like this matchup's like one of the closest matchups that we have in the current iteration of Hearthstone. That's closest to 50-50 as far as like win rates go. It's even in competitive. Like you look back at like the Winter Championships, this matchup was played like probably 10 times, and I believe it was like 50% win rate for both sides. I like the Control Warrior just because I'm a Control Warrior player, and I feel like you have enough removal to get through. Especially if you have Justicar Trueheart earlier against the combo Reno, you can effectively make them have like 4 dead cards in their hand for most of the game. And for the Reno Jackson doesn't matter sometimes because eventually you're going to get Elise and eventually you're going to get legendaries. This is another one of those matchups where the quality of legendaries you get from Elise can have a big impact on the outcome of the game.
Oh, Deathbite, a very welcome pickup for Dog at this point. You saw that roll for 2 on Implosion on the Acolyte. That gave Dog an extra draw. It let him clear an extra minion. And he kind of just rolled his eyes when it happened. Like, hey, yeah. Sometimes. But that's the risk of running a powerful card like Implosion is. It does have a built-in failure rate sometimes. And that's allowed Dog, I think, to actually get what I would consider a little bit of a favorable footing. Bloodsail Corsair out of the Dark Peddler, though. Feels good, man.
Next level. But yeah, one of the ways that Warlock can win this matchup is just by pressuring. They do have a lot of mid-range stuff. They have Imgang bosses. They have Defender Vargas. They have Lotheb. They have Emperor Thorsan. Those are a lot of really strong-bodied minions that have powerful effects that need to be removed. And if not removed, especially Emperor Thorsan, will start getting lots of overall value. Alex Straza pulled. I can't tell if that's good or not. It's good because Dog doesn't really have a good way to remove it.
Well, it's good some percentage of the time. We'll let the Brawl figure out what percentage that's going to be. But 25% of the time, it's going to be massive. And it misses. Bloodsail Corsair is too strong.
Too strong, yeah. Getting rid of a Deathbite and surviving the Brawl.
And Alex Straza kind of a key card to lose in this matchup, too. I played against VLPS a lot on ladder. And when he plays this deck, kind of what you just mentioned, he plays it a lot like a mid-range deck where he just continues to pressure turn after turn and keep you on that back foot to open up windows of opportunity for his combo earlier than he normally would. So Dog right here, fantastic turn from him, being able to Justicar, tank up, and shield slam the Emperor. That takes away one of the major threats in this one. VLPS actually didn't get the reduction on his Leroy Jenkins or on an abusive sergeant. So his damage is a little bit more limited because of that in the long term. So he's got his work cut out for him. I mean, the fact that Alex Straza's gone too, that's about, that can be anywhere from 10 to 15 points of damage that he doesn't have access to this game.
Yeah. And this is going to be tough for Dog to find a way. He's going to have to use Grom in order to remove this, but this is pretty vulnerable, and now he doesn't have a finisher pre-Elise to work with.
LPS could pick up a big Game Hunter here. Not quite. Ooh. He does have the option of Faceless Manipulator this Grom this turn, though, and it looks like he's going to go for it. Yeah, if I don't blame him at all, that's 10 damage. Oh, yeah. Pyroblast.
And he's got Leroy Jenkins' Power Overwhelming Hellfire, which is 13 points of burst, and that's given that none of his boards survive. So pushing that damage could end up being a big deal, and VLPS just goes ahead and throws out the heal bot just as an extra body on the board to maybe get in for some damage next turn.
Yeah, Dog going to clean this up very nicely, though. Execute on the Grom. He's got the attack into the Lotheb. He's got the bash for the anti-heal bot. Armor up, or tank up, excuse me, and Elise. this one might have just been sealed, I think, for Dog. If he could manage to take care of the next couple of threats that VLPS poses, it's going to be very difficult for him to win this game.
Yeah, and now VLPS has gotten rid of a piece of that combo, so his maximum damage, especially without Alexstrasza, without Faceless Manipulator, is just cut significantly. So VLPS is going to have to rely on now sort of this hodgepodge, this mismatch of creatures that he has in his deck. That
this motley crew of minions.
This motley crew of minions, exactly. That's a great way to put it. That he has left in his deck, like a Mind Control Tech and an Acidic Swamp. We just have to fight against whatever's going to come out of that Golden Monkey, which is I don't know if that's going to be able to win VLPS the game. He still has some value from the Emperor. He still has his Reno Jackson left to bring him back up, and he's just going to use it as a 4/6 basically, and that's going to heal him for 5.
10, 13 out of hand, plus 7 on board. He's got 24 damage available to him. Second Shield Slam is going to really put Dog out of reach of this one, though. He's kind of reluctant to use it almost when you see this. He's like, should I even use it this turn? When your opponent plays a 4/6 for tempo, and they just Acidic Swamp Ooze, obviously searching for tempo as well, too, this kind of plays VLPS's hand face up in this spot. Like, he looks at it and he knows that this is the turn he has to make something happen. Twisting Nether comes out to deal with his board position, so Dog's getting initiative here. But the big story is that VLPS is so far down in damage potential at this point. This isn't the typical Reno build, where sometimes you find Fugan and Stalag, where Jiraxis is going to be in here to get those 6/6s turn after turn. He's relying on the Leroy burst to end this game, and Dog is at 34 after all this.
Yeah, but the one thing is Dr. Boom off the top, and Dog needs some good stuff now. He's got ways to deal with the board as it is, but he still needs some good stuff because he's using a lot of resources to just try and hold on to the board. And he's still got that monkey in his deck, but he doesn't have too many ways to cycle outside of like a shield block, whereas VLPS is drawing 2 cards a turn. Even though he's getting closer to fatigue, does he have any strong stuff left in his deck is the question. And
wow, I mean, look at this Leroy Mortal Coil to try to get some repetitive damage out of this Leroy. This is actually a really keen play here from VLPS. The fact that Dog's only got 1 card left, this is the kind of board that VLPS might be able to get multiple shots out of this Leroy, and it looks like it's going to be Brawl first. I mean, if this brawl is successful, I think you do.
Okay.
I mean, you're potentially killing 10 damage here with this Brawl.
But if it's all right, that's the middle outcome of it, I think, because Leroy would have been able to contest the Golden Monkey. So now Dog is almost always going to have a high impact draw every turn, and VLPS is basically out of stuff. Like I said, that Mind Control Tech, I don't know how well that's going to fight up against legendaries from the Golden Monkey. Maybe he'll do well against Nat Pagel.
Lore Walker Cho.
Him in one shot, yeah.
He needs a pretty good one here. He's considering silencing this monkey here too, just to start pushing some damage. But if this is really going to come down to Dog's first draw here. If his first draw is very strong, I'm not sure if VLPS can actually win this game.
Yeah. He's actually going to Power Overwhelming and Shadow Flame just to remove the Golden Monkey off the board. He's pretty much all in on this Twilight Drake. Which...
He's not really making much progress either. I mean, the tank up is just healing him for 4 every turn. Trogzor! Yes. It's better than Dr. Boom. We called it years ago when GVG came out. I said it myself. Trogzor is better than Dr. Boom. Don't expect Dr. Boom to get played. And look at that. VLPS has to trade into the Trogzor. Boom.
All right, well, VLPS has... This is everything. This is all that he has left. And it that is going to do it. Once again, Dog plays minions so fast that they pop up on the right side of the screen. And that means that Dog is going to take the series. A lot of fun games in that one. It's not often that you get to see Golden Monkey matches like 3 times in a single series.
Yeah, pretty impressive stuff there from Dog, too. Just playing so aggressively to attack the board states. Just a couple of times that he forced VLPS to do something that was a little bit off balance that's like the mark of a very good professional. Is someone who understands that matchup potential and knows to seize those little windows of opportunity. And I think VLPS did a wonderful job of fighting back, but in the end, the matchup, the fact that Justicar was found early enough for Dog allowed him to get so much extra life that he didn't have an opportunity to push through in that one, but made the most of his tools. When he went for the Leroy Mortal Coil, when he had the Twilight Drake on board, when he even pressured super hard to kill the Gold Monkey and hope that Dog drew a couple of dead legendaries in a row, he also is taking every single opportunity he can to try to pull back into the game. But at the end of the day, just too many strong legendaries.
Indeed. So that's going to be Dog moving on to the grand finals of feature tournament number 2. And VLPS will go home with a fourth place finish, $750 still, and 10 Geico points. So if he continues to do well, or if he does well in the opens, then he could still secure himself a spot in PAX Prime finals at the end of the year. But we do have a semifinal left as well as a finals left. So lots of action still to come. Make sure, guys, during the break, you head over to geico.onog.gg. Sign up to win. That's Cyberpower PC, and also enter into the Open tournament, which is going to happen on April 30th. So in just 2 weeks, if you want your chance to compete. But next semifinal up is going to be Zalae versus Leadpaint. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the One Nation of Gamers 2016 circuit. This is the feature tournament number 2 final day. My name is TJ once again. I'm joined by ThatsAdmirable, and we just saw a doozy of a series. I think is the only way to describe it. We talked about it earlier. 3 Golden Monkey games in a single series. It was intense. I think you're muted.
I am indeed muted.
Your point was great, though. Your point was great. I could see it in your eyes, man. I could see it in your eyes.
Well, it's dead now. Yeah, Golden Monkey's sweet. Yeah, we'll stick with that one.
It was like a dub. That was you said that long sentence, and then at the end translated right underneath it. It was Golden Monkey is sweet. But yeah, the next semifinal coming up is going to be Zalae versus Leadpaint, and sort of similar to last time. Zalae is kind of a storied player now, even though he's never had that huge spotlight. He's been around the scene for a while. He's amassed a decent prize pool. And Leadpaint, sort of an unknown player who's tried to fight his way through open tournaments, including this one, to sort of reach his success.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really got a good footing in the pro scene, you know who Leadpaint is. You've probably played against this guy in a tournament or played against him high on ladder. But he's up against a very storied player at this point. I mean, Zalae, coming off of a Magic background, has a wealth of experience there. He was actually a Magic Online Player of the Year in one of the years he was playing professionally. But since stepping into Hearthstone, we're talking he's won a couple of open tournaments at the Tuesday Night Hypes. He won BlackRock Mountain Launch Invitational. He won the WCA 2015 Pro Qualifier for Americas. He won one of the esports arena tournaments. He's got second place in the Geico Brawl. A couple of top fours sprinkled in here and there, including Seat Story Cup, and he made top 8 at I-57 as well, where Dog was second place at that one. Over $14,000 in lifetime earnings from playing Hearthstone, and that's the kind of stuff that you continue to rack that up year after year. That's what makes you a very good player, is having these consistent finishes day in, day out, and it leading into a very impressive resume.
And just 3 days ago, he won the Esports Arena World Series of Sealed. So even though it's not a constructed tournament, it's a little bit off the wall, it's still a tournament win. It proves that he's good at Hearthstone. It proves that he has strong deck building and strong knowledge of the game. So he's also got to be feeling confident moving in, coming off a win like that. So we are going to move into the series. Once again, this is a semifinal match. So the winner of this match moves on to face Dog in the finals of feature tournament number 2 for that $3,000 first place prize, and also that PAX Prime qualification for the One Nation of Gamers Grand Finals for the 2016 circuit, which also has a pretty substantial prize pool, a $25,000 prize pool for that tournament. That's going to happen in August.
Yeah, very different approach to this match also for the two of these players. We saw in the first one a lot of control decks. VLPS not even bringing Druid, him banning out Druid. Both of these guys have brought Druid. They both brought Shaman. They've both brought Warlock, and both of their Warlocks have been banned in this one. So very different kind of matchup that we're going to see in this one. And with Shaman versus Shaman in the opener, this is one of those matchups that I actually find most appealing in Hearthstone. Typically you think of aggro Shaman, you think of these blistering fast starts where they're trying to kill each other and some player dies like on turn 5 or turn 6 when their opponent stumbles. This often turns into a major grind between the two players where the last threat usually ends up adding up to so much damage that it's unrecoverable for one of these players. While you'll see them kind of playing fast very early on, it very quickly turns into a control style of matchup where both players play kind of defensive with all their cards.
In aggro versus aggro, every single decision matters because the game is so quick, and a lot of times it can be over so quick. So it means that every single turn and every single play that you make has a higher impact on the game overall. And I think that's what makes these types of matchups so exciting. So both players had a decent opening hand with some early game minions, not too much with spells, and some decent early game minions to boot.
Yep, Haunted Creeper's got a trade lined up for it here, but if you know Zalae, he's a very patient player, likes to take his time and figure out exactly what he's going to do before he takes any steps.
Yeah.
Sign of a very strong player indeed. I've played a bit with Zalae too, like on the practice side of things, and he's the kind of player who asks himself a lot of questions. Not so much like what's the best play this turn, but what is a reason to play this card in my hand? What's a reason to play this card in my hand? What's a reason to attack a certain minion? A lot of it comes more from just him asking the right questions to himself, and a lot less from him just making strong plays turn after turn.
I think that meticulous style of play was one of the reasons why he was considered one of the strongest pre-nerf patron players, which was an incredibly challenging deck at the highest level of play. And because he asked himself those questions, I think he's able to play those higher skill cap decks. And I think aggro Shaman, even though people hate on it a lot because they lose to it on ladder on turn 5, and people always tend to have Doomhammer double Rockbiter on turn 7. It is a deck that takes a lot of skill to play effectively because of how much you have to trade in the early game. It's not a linear deck as, you just go face. At some point you turn to that, but it is a really challenging deck to play.
Yeah. A lot of little tiny decisions that add up to the big picture in this one. 3 pretty decent options here for Leadpaint, but 2 of them aren't looking so appealing because he's so far behind on board. Ideally in this situation, you're not behind. You get to take one of the more aggressive hero powers, but here he's taking the Druid, does have Doomhammer in his hand, so potential for the damage to add up in the long term there, but he's fallen very behind on the board. And so right now, I would definitely consider this in Zalae's favor. He's got Feral Spirit to back this up. These juggles could matter a lot, but you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Lots of tiny decisions with this deck to make, and they add up to that big picture. And at this point, he's so ahead on board, and he's gone so wide with his position that he's free to now start foregoing the trades and looking to get the repetitive damage out of the minions that he has. And a lot of this did just in this game kind of add up to the Haunted Creeper and the way it panned out versus this board. Just bought him so much value being able to attack into a Leper Gnome, while Leadpaint didn't have an opportunity to play his Haunted Creeper. He was having to just play a more solid board state, and that's led to this.
Yeah, it's like the difference between reactive play and proactive play. If you can be proactive, the player that's dropping the threats and demanding answers the whole game, and especially in this quick of a matchup, you're going to be, the one coming out on top the majority of the time.
Yeah, that Doomhammer draw probably sealed this game. I mean, this turn alone probably sealed this game. The fact that Zalae had 9 damage open on this turn, plus the Argent Horse Rider.
Yeah, he's going to be pushing so much damage. There's absolutely no way that Leadpaint finds a way out of this one. Unless he's snuck an Elemental Destruction in the deck and Zalae whiffs on damage for like 4 turns in a row, maybe he has a chance, but he's just going to go ahead and concede, and that's Zalae taking a pretty quick game number 1. That's kind of refreshing to see after a best of 7 full control mirrors.
For me, I'm glad that we got to see like the light and the dark side of Haunted Creeper in that deck, where Zalae was able to make fantastic use with it, but for Leadpaint, he fell behind and they got stranded in his hand. The fact that he had access to 2 less cards that game effectively because Zalae took the board so early on. That's one of those cards. Haunted Creeper's great. When it's kind of like the first one out of the gate. Really poor, though, when it's your follow-up play.
Yeah, indeed. And before we jump into the next match here real quick, we just want to remind you guys that Geico and ONOG will actually be at PAX East in just 1 week. So next weekend we'll be at PAX East. Make sure you guys, if you're going to attend PAX East, you head over there, check out the booth. There will be some players from all of the Geico gaming teams, Cloud9, Team Liquid, and also some players from Team Archon. You can go over there, get some signings done. We'll also be running a major. It'll be casted as well right here on this very channel. It's a $10,000 prize pool major with a lot of fantastic players. So if you're not able to make it out to PAX East, make sure you tune in online and watch the major that will be going on. So lots of stuff. Make sure you get involved with all the Geico and One Nation of Gamer stuff that's happening at PAX East. But let's jump into this next game. Game number 2, Zalae with the Paladin versus Leadpaint's Druid.
Yeah, to actually follow up on what you just said, too, there's actually 128 spots to sign up for the major event to play in it as well. So make sure you check that out as well. Your opportunity to compete in that one. Play with the big boys and see if you can hang.
A 10K major, and I believe that goes along with saying that means major status Hearthstone Championship Tour points. So if you're someone who slacked on ladder a little bit in the past couple months and are really wanted to make a splash at the spring prelims, and you think you have what it takes, make sure you guys head over there and sign up. So that's at the geico.onog.gg, the website that's plastered all of our overlays. So if you haven't gone there, make sure you check it out.
Yeah, chalky.
Signups are on-site only, actually. So signups for the Opens are online, but signups are on-site. So if you want to make the trek to Boston to head over to PAX East, I know I would if I wasn't literally as far away from Boston as you could possibly get living in the continental United States.
You're in San Diego, is that right?
That is correct.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same position for you. I'm living in East Bay right now.
Yeah, so you're probably equidistant from Boston. Ripperino.
Great opening here for Zalae. Haunted Creeper into Secret Keeper into Secret. And that's going to help take care of this board. Leadpaint has drawn 2 copies of Innervate, but not really any action to go with it. Typically when you're using innervates, you use it to get these wild tempo swings on board, but not really an opportunity to do so. And Zalae, this Cog Hammer is looking so good in this spot. He's going to hope it falls to that Secret Keeper. Does miss it there, so I would expect to see this Divine Shield used in some fashion this turn.
I mean, he could still... Yeah, this forces a hero power out next turn if he wants to remove the Haunted Creeper, which is really effective because Druid really wants to play on curve. And forcing them to either play, like a 3-mana minion and a hero power, or, not hero power and play a 5-mana minion. But this is double dipping a little bit.
Yeah, that's a very saucy draw there from Leadpaint too. Able to punish this aggressive play from Zalae pretty well. But he's got good follow-ups to this. And this is kind of the difference between when you would take the risk and when you wouldn't in this spot for Zalae. The fact that his turn 4, he's got every viable option available to him, it means that he can get a little bit more aggressive here and take these kinds of risks.
The old turn 5 Azure Drake double innervate Keeper of the Grove. That's a doozy.
Yeah, Mysterious Challenger picked up too.
So that's going to be in a few turns. Still can't make that happen, but Zalae has to decide here. Does he want to just play the Pilot Shredder and maybe trade into the Mana Addict, or he does have the opportunity to remove the Azure Drake if he's afraid of spell power, or even get additional value by removing the Keep of the Grove. But Mana Addict is actually really threatening.
Yeah, I think Zalae is often going to have his sights set on this Azure Drake here. Blessing of Kings is pretty hard to use, I think, given his current hand. And since he's got this Mysterious Challenger, he's just looking for the best way to roll in the Mysterious Challenger turn. And so because of that, he may actually forego the Blessing of Kings simply because he's got Keeper of Voldemort and Piloted Shredder to play on this turn 4 and then on the following on turn 5. But the Blessing of Kings looks very appealing to me at this point. Like, Blessing of Kings, just trade over the Azure Drake and then, just power play through your next couple turns and hope the Mysterious Challenger is too much for your opponent.
Yeah. I like this a lot. Even though Mana Addict can be threatening just because one spell makes it pretty powerful, that's given Leadpaint has a spell and is willing to use the mana to utilize it. And even if he does, it removes the Haunted Creeper and then pushes an extra 2 damage. So he's not too worried about that. And I really like the point you made about how Blessing of Kings is hard to use, especially since at least your turn 6 is planned out.
Yeah, so this is going to be a pretty easy trade here for Leadpaint. It does take 5 damage in the process. Zalae also swung at the Cog Hammer, set this Mana Addict to die. Very keen play from him. And so he's going to fall to 18, Piloted Shredder rolling in a Mysterious Challenger versus Leadpaint, who looks like he's going to have Keeper of the Grove and Shade online to fight this state. So Zalae being at 18, this is a little bit of an opportunity, I think, for Leadpaint to maybe squeeze in the damage here. But this draw is going to have to be important for him. He just used Wrath, too. Oh, Emperor Thorson's good enough.
I'd say so, yeah. It allows him to fit in a hero power to take out this. Ooh, okay. Fit in a hero power to not take out. Yeah, just hit in the face. Now Savage Roar becomes much more valuable.
Now, Emperor Thorson is unchallenged in this spot, so I don't blame Leadpaint for taking the aggressive stance here in any way whatsoever. And this has got to be a Mysterious Challenger turn. I mean, does have option for Keeper of Voldemort, but Leadpaint's only got 1 card in his hand, so how threatening is the Emperor outside of just being a 5/5 body?
Yeah, and he's going to be able to back-to-back Mysterious Challenger, which, to be honest, could set up for like a 2-turn lethal. Like if he gets a reasonable sized, well, I guess his Piloted Shredder is not going to die, but that's a lot of damage that's going to be represented on board if Leadpaint decides to go for these secrets.
These are some tough turns here for Leadpaint. He's pretty much had to answer the board state every single step of the way, and while he's gotten in a lot of damage, he's just missing like kind of that one final piece to put this all together.
Mm-hmm. Either way, he's going to be able to swipe to remove this Piloted Shredder.
Oh, good fall, I think, for Leadpaint here.
Yeah.
You swipe face. Yeah, that's definitely a swipe face. Wants extra damage here, too. Attacks before the Piloted Shredder gets dropped. Wants to bypass a taunt if he can. Bluegill Warrior. Not really big stuff here. Zalae at 5. He's got to be a little bit uncomfortable. 9, 13, 14, 15, 16 damage available for Zalae this turn. It's not quite enough. I mean, he dies to damage in this spot.
Yeah. So Zalae has to set up for a 2-turn lethal because if he lets the shade live for 2, he's dead just no matter what in 2 turns. So he has to trade in and make sure that he's going to have enough power on the board to make it happen. I think just Mysterious Challenger is going to be the way that he has to do it.
Yeah, but he's trying to find a reason to do anything other than Mysterious Challenger for sure.
Yeah, but Leadpaint also has so many outs next turn anyway. Like Savage Roar wins the game. Force of Nature will win the game.
Draw the Claw, Force of Nature, Swipe, Living Roots. This is an interesting play here from Zalae. So is going to be running over the Emperor with his 9/7. The 6/5 is going to be pointed to face, and then he's going to look to end the game next turn with the power that's on board. But this draw from Leadpaint, this could decide the game.
Ooh, what's it going to be? Savage Roar.
Oh, picks it up. 1 game apiece now between Zalae and Leadpaint. 3 more to go for each player. Got to feel good about that one.
I really like that line of play, though, because that actually, I don't think just playing the Mysterious Challenger would have set him up for a 2-turn lethal. It would have, he would have only had it, I think, if Zalae had made the attack and proc the Avenge. So that I think that was a really good spot by Zalae to make sure that he did have a guaranteed lethal had Leadpaint whiffed that turn, or force the shade off the board by making it trade into one of those powerful creatures, either the Mysterious Challenger. Well, it had to be the Mysterious Challenger. So really well played, but unfortunately in the end, Leadpaint just got a lot of damage in early and was able to pull out the win.
Yeah, and then so many outs at the end. I mean, that's really the big one there, is that just every single card that enhanced damage was enough to end the game. And that's the power of that aggressive play that Leadpaint had. He had plenty of opportunities, I think, to play it a little bit more defensively. And choosing to use the Wild Growth before playing the Shade on the same turn he Wrathed as well. He got 2 extra damage out of the Mana Addict that way. Everything really added up that game. And so finally, we're getting to game number 3 now. It's going to be a Paladin Mirror match, but Leadpaint's got a copy of Ragnaros in here. So that's going to indicate a bit more of the top end. I'm not sure how I feel about that in this matchup either, because a lot of this one just comes down to who takes the board early on. They keep it and they roll into Mysterious Challenger. Now, Leadpaint having the extra Ragnaros, he's glad to be mulliganing it away, but if he draws this on a turn where he needs an early drop, it could just devastate his curve.
Yeah, this match feels all about the turns 1 through 6. It feels, and sometimes you can mount a comeback, but rarely does this deck run efficient board clears. Maybe one Consecration. Consecrations, I think, would be considered like a tech card in this Paladin deck, which is rare for a Paladin deck, but it's just true because they're about building their own board, not about removing their opponents. And I don't know. This is pretty awkward hands for both players.
Yeah. No 2-drop for Zalae, but Leadpaint's kind of missing that turn 4 right now. Does have coin to potentially shore this up, which I'm sure he's happy about.
Yeah.
It's going to be a miss from Zalae this turn. His turn 3 and 4 are looking very good. And even his turn 5. Pilot Showdown turn 5 is still a totally good play. But the fact that Haunted Creeper is going to be the first thing on the board here means that this Muster for Battle loses a little bit of its power.
Yeah, Haunted Creeper pretty much trades like 1-for-1 for Muster for Battle. You leave like a couple charges of Light's Justice left, but it's a really sort of even trade as far as the 1/1s go. And I mean, he could Coghammer. It gives him like a more powerful weapon with less durability. But I guess making sure that he can separate that damage a little bit more is better in the long run.
Yeah, choosing to trade into the Haunted Creeper here as well. Wants to avoid any shenanigans with any buffs. Doesn't want it to get Coghammer. Doesn't want Knife Juggler to be able to swing this board a little bit. And that's where Coghammer comes in. And this is looking like it's favoring Leadpaint just a little bit here.
Yeah, especially since he has the coin plus Mysterious Challenger already. That means no matter what, his Mysterious Challenger is coming out first, unless a Lothab is played on turn 5. But even then, I think he's going to be in a good spot. The thing is, he's going to be playing on the back foot the whole time until Mysterious Challenger comes out. So will he be able to push through is the question.
Yeah, Mysterious Challenger is going to look so good next turn.
Oh, yeah.
Just sets Pilot Shredder and passes, chooses not to attack with Coghammer. Might need those charges to keep fighting through the board state in the face of Mysterious Challenger. Doesn't want to have to force himself to use Muster for Battle in the case he needs a weapon.
Yep. All right, so this turn you have to be expecting coin Mysterious Challenger next turn. So Zalae is asking himself right now, what's the best possible board state I could expect to be able to most efficiently either deal or most efficiently ignore Mysterious Challenger next turn. And Sludge Belcher makes sense on curve, but there's also merit to just playing Coghammer and trying to attack in and seeing if you can completely remove the board going into next turn, given that a 2 health minion comes out.
Yeah, but I like this gamble from Zalae right here. Is able to secure this too. The fact that he's got 2 Coghammers too, he wants to make use of these before the other cards. Knows that oftentimes this matchup can turn into kind of a grind battle. I mean, anytime you have a mirror match, there's always that threat of just all the cards kind of trading 1 for 1, and then the final threat is what ends up being a big difference.
Ooh, this means he's going to go for Knife Juggler Muscle for battle. So I really like this audible being called by Lead Paint and going for a play that's going to allow him to fight back on the board a lot better. And this way he can also coin out Avenge. So that way he gets sort of maximum value out of both of these. A lot of times you don't want to use the secrets before you play Mysterious Challenger because it means if the Avenge isn't procced, then Mysterious Challenger is not going to pull an additional card out of your deck, which weakens the strength of your draws for the rest of the game. But this time he knows that Knife Juggler is too threatening to leave on the board, so he knows that this Avenge is most likely going to be procced before he can play his Mysterious Challenger.
Yeah, it's kind of a brilliant spot here, too. The fact that this Avenge is down, Zalae normally would have a very clean trade with just Coghammer and Knife Juggler. But he's thinking about this one and going, what if it's Noble Sacrifice? And so because of that, his play looks like it's better to attack a 1-1 into a 1-1 here. And so can potentially get punished by the Avenge on that side. When the Avenge lands on the Knife Juggler, has to take an extra 6 points of damage. So this secret here kind of changing the dynamic of this turn. I mean, normally it'd just be super easy. Just attack the Knife Juggler. Here we go. The Avenge procs and...
Knife Juggler. Hey, there it is.
You could set it down to a 3-3 with that Keeper of Uldamon, but Zalae has spent his entire turn thinking about this. He's got to make a decision now.
All right, well, he's going to trade into it, but he's going to throw it on the bell. So that's 6 extra damage that he's taken, and he's leaving 2 minions on the board. So now this turn from Lead Paint is going to be a Mysterious Challenger, and he does not draw a secret, which is ideal moving into this turn. Avenge would have been like the worst draw in his deck.
And it's the full 5. Even Repentance is here. So now Zalae's plays feel a lot trickier. This was kind of a brilliant move here from Lead Paint. He got a little bit lucky on the Avenge, but this is like really in his favor now.
Just making the call to go for that play and being rewarded for it, with that variance is a big deal. I think you can tunnel on the fact that hey, Avenge went on the Knife Juggler, but making the call to not coin out Mysterious Challenger, which I think a lot of people would just automatically have done, he was rewarded for it. So I like that line of play.
There's the redemption. And so Zalae, still quite a bit of options for Zalae, though. I mean, this is what you see turn after turn with Keeper of Uldamon, is that it just gives you so many different things that you can do. And so I like the Coghammer here best. This is, I mean, basically the reason he used the first one is so that he could set up a second one that looked a little bit better. Knows that it's Repentance as well, so jamming down that Dr. Boom looks a lot less appealing into an Avenge. I'm sorry, into a Repentance.
Yeah. So I do think, though, that Zalae found probably the best way to go about that turn. And it's all about the board. Sometimes just playing the big minion is not the right way to go. Playing the big minion and hoping things work out usually is not the right way to go, especially in this matchup when even just a little bit of a stronger board means you have a huge advantage going into future turns.
Yeah, the Sludge Belcher are going to protect these little guys as well. Very good news for him, and that Ragnaros actually looking a lot better. I mean, this is the reward you get for playing Ragnaros in this build, is that when it goes 1-for-1 and the Ragnaros didn't disrupt your curve, it is a major threat to the opposition. This is looking like all Lead Paint this game.
Yeah, especially since he had to take extra damage earlier on. He's a lower health total. He's at 17. Now at the end of this turn, again, it's sometimes common to see one consecration. But if there is one consecration, that means it's less likely that you draw it, especially when it seems at times when you need it. So now it just seems like he has to play the big minion and hope for the best, which is something that he was trying to avoid with all of his plays over the previous couple of turns.
Yeah, we've seen Boombots change games before, so Leadpaint's still going to have to tiptoe around this one a bit. Mm-hmm. Maybe I lied. Maybe he's just going to go dome and ignore everything.
Oh, yeah. Now he knows that it's not noble sacrifice, so...
Wonder if he's ever taking repentance here.
Yeah.
Yep, smart to keep Voldem on this. Just take out the board position.
All right, he's still going to make sure that he, keeps the board clean moving into these future turns. And he's going to be able to push a lot of damage. So...
Yep.
Interesting if he doesn't trade into either of these. Okay. You might as well let the opponent trade with the Bootbot since they're going to die anyway.
Yeah, don't mind this. And the fact that he sets Zalae to 8 too also gives him the extra out on that Ragnaros. I mean, now at any time, Ragnaros has a certain % chance to be lethal. So even if the Boombots rolled perfectly here, there's still a chance that Leadpaint can win. Here's number 1. That's not very good.
Yeah, he needs this one to snipe off probably the Keeper of Oldman would be his best bet. I mean, I guess taking out the shield of Minibot means that he doesn't die this turn. There's 5-6 damage being represented on board. He's at 7 health. Can he guarantee lethal here? It doesn't look like it. But he can give himself a pretty good chance. Oh, now he can. Okay.
That's going to guarantee lethal. Sometimes you just get it off the top. But Leadpaint, even despite that, had a near stranglehold on this game. Just so much damage pouring out in the early. And that extra 6 damage that he got from that Knife Juggler with that Avenge play, I think that made a big difference on this game. Like the fact that he was so patient with the Mysterious Challenger. Like you mentioned, so many people just coined the Mysterious Challenger, not really thought anything of it. And the patient play here from Leadpaint, very much rewarded.
All right, well, that means he takes a 2-1 lead in the series with just Mage and Shaman left remaining. I believe the Mage is sort of that wild card deck. That was the deck that we couldn't see. It was his 5th deck, his secret deck, so to speak, from his group stages. So I'm curious to see what it is. It feels like Tempo Mage would fit more with the style of play that he's going with, especially if he's expecting more Druids. But he could be Freeze Mage. I've known Leadpaint in the past to play some Freeze Mage. Some of the laughing Freeze Mage.
Yeah, I think at this point, Zalae's kind of hoping it is Freeze Mage. He's got 2 decks that line up fairly well against it. But it is Tempo Mage instead. And that's the kind of matchup I think that Leadpaint is looking for. Tempo Mage versus Control Warrior is such an interesting matchup. Because oftentimes with Tempo Mage, you want to open up with Mana Worm, you want to get a great tempo play with Sorcerer's Apprentice and maybe like a Flame Cannon, a Frostbolt, or an Unstable Portal. But in this matchup, it typically plays a little bit slower. If you get your early game disrupted, you find that the Mana Worm is just so much less effective against this build. Say in the face of Fiery Warax. But it has the potential to play that long game. With Archmage Antonias in here, I've been playing quite a bit of Tempo Mage recently. I've actually been using more of a spare part build with Emperor Thaurissan to try to unlock the potential from a couple of Flamewakers or from Archmage Antonias. So it'll be curious to see how Leadpaint's built his Tempo Mage deck. I know a lot of people don't favor that Clockwork Gnome style, but you do have options to fight control if you so want it to be that way.
Yeah, and there's also some cards in this deck that I was just about to mention. There's some tech cards that you can throw in to make this deck so much better against Control Warrior. What else is Water Elemental? 6 health is tough to get through. It doesn't die to even a second charge of Death Spite. And that means that a lot of times that thing's going to stick around or it's going to eat a lot of removal. And if it sticks around, that pretty much locks out weapons from the Warrior player. So really like to see that thrown in there, especially given what kind of decks are being played in the meta right now with Shaman, Warrior, Paladin, and even Druid. Getting rid of that hero power are all popular decks currently.
Yeah, just a strong minion. 3/6 for 4 mana is already pretty decent. When you add the freeze behind it, that's really the big one. Mm-hmm. And so I think that Leadpaint is definitely going to look for an opportunity to use that Water Elemental. And just going to play this as a 5/2. I kind of like this. Wow, Bouncing Blades from Zalae. This is really interesting. Oh, going to use it right away, though. And I think this is... When Leadpaint sees Bouncing Blades here, this is like his opportunity to go for the Water Elemental as soon as possible. And this could be a nightmare for Zalae.
Yeah, and Zalae actually just gives a little bit of a smile as soon as he throws out that bouncing blades. He knows that that's a weird choice to throw in his deck. I think Zalae still has to hit this with the Death Bite and be tunneled in on a bash to remove it next turn, and just take that extra damage and take the freeze for a turn. But we'll see. Oh, okay. At least Darker Seeker sort of fits the same role, but it's also vulnerable to like a fireball, and that means that you can't get that damage from Death Bite initially.
Yeah, could be plenty happy to see a fireball here on the Elise, though. I don't think Leadpaint's going to go that direction. Just the fact that he gets the freeze off initially is a big deal. And if Zalae attacks into the water elemental, it means he's missing the next turn with the Elise anyway. So it would leave Leadpaint plenty of time to deal with it.
Yeah. Ooh.
Considering Arcane Missiles here, this is really interesting. So Arcane Missile Mirror Entity is going to be his play. And he is attacking the Elise. I'm really shocked by that.
The Elise is going to trade into it anyway. It feels like no matter what the circumstance.
Maybe he's trying to represent duplicate with this.
Sure, but I don't think even if you think it's duplicate as delay, I feel like you have to remove it anyway because you just can't. It's either you duplicate it and he spends 4 mana playing it next turn, or you just leave it on the board and get frozen anyway. So an interesting line of play. I'm not sure if I necessarily agree, but we'll see if it's going to play off for him because he still gets the Death Bite coming out. Naga Sea Witch. That
not
doesn't
very,
really.
Yeah. Not a strong one in Tempo Mage.
What it does do is allow you to like cheat out, an extra 5/5 with your Doctor Boom, but that's about it. If you draw Doctor Boom on turn 7, it means you can play Naga Sea Witch for 2 mana and play Doctor Boom. So that could be good, but it also means you just play more into Brawl. So I don't think that's going to be a great pickup for Leadpaint.
Zalae really respecting the Flamewaker here too.
Yeah.
Just revenge and bash to take care of it. I think Leadpaint's pretty happy with that one. Mana Worm, Sorcerer's Apprentice. Sorcerer's Apprentice, I do know this one very well. And Arcane Intellect back behind it. Not the greatest pickups for him.
Yeah. He can give over a Acolyte of Pain if he wants. But giving Tempo Mage cards is pretty dangerous. But it's also the weakest minion you're going to have in your deck to throw into Mirror Entity, so I don't think you're too worried about it.
Second Acolyte. This is the third game we've seen at least 3 Acolytes on board.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to take his card advantage here. With 2 Brawls in hand, I don't think Zalae is fearing the threat of a lot of minions, basically at all. And at this point, it feels like it's going to be kind of a card advantage battle, which Tempo Mage actually fights really well.
Yeah, they do. They have a lot of cycle with Arcane Intellect and Azure Drakes, and they have all of their cards feel really impactful against Warrior. Even just like Frostbolting Face at times can buy you an extra turn. Duplicate allows for a lot of card advantage as well, so it's just it depends on what it falls on. Duplicate on a Mana Worm is not that great, but it has the potential to be good. Everything has the potential to be good.
Yeah, I think in this matchup, duplicating Mana Worm is never really a problem. I think the one you don't want to duplicate is likely Sorcerer's Apprentice. Pretty much all the other minions have a little bit more value because they either draw cards or they're very cheap, effective threats.
Mm-hmm.
Things of that nature. So duplicate doesn't look like it's going to be the play here at all. Just second Sorcerer's Apprentice. Maybe a Frostbolt here on one of these Acolytes, but I think I'd like to see Leadpaint get a little bit more aggressive than that. It is going to play duplicate, though. And is it the trade? Yeah, trades off the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Definitely doesn't want that duplicated. Second Bouncing Blade.
It's so interesting. I wonder what he cuts for those, because Revenge, I would think, would be what you would cut, but we also see a Revenge. So he has at least one.
Yeah, notice it's not counterspell at this point. Ooh, Fiery War Axe. Pretty darn good one. It's like maximizing his draw from these Acolytes as well.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a duplicated Mana Worm. And with Sludge Belcher back behind, that's kind of that's really the ideal situation, I think, for Zalae, is the fact he's clearing off the board position, and then has a taunt in the face of just a couple of threats, and has a brawl in the face of more than 2 threats, I think. So this is looking pretty good for him. Does take 4 from the Azure Drake, but I don't think he's too sad with that. His hand feels like it's got all the tools to fight against this.
Yeah. There we go. He could cheat it out. No! I guess he doesn't want to play in a brawl that much.
Yeah, but I like just playing the Dr. Boom here. Doesn't need to add anything to it. This is often enough to force some action from Zalae. He does have Shield Block and just picked up Shield Slam.
So that's an option, but yeah, I guess holding on to Brawl has some merit. At least one of them, just because you know that there's a duplicate. You kind of feel like Lead Paint's going to flood the board next turn if he feels like you don't have any more Brawls.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty low-risk Brawl from Zalae here, too. You might be looking at this and going, well, if the Dr. Boom wins, he can't Shield Block and Shield Slam anymore. But with that Bouncing Blade in hand, he's able to really get pretty much max value from that if the Dr. Boom would live that turn.
Yeah, I suppose, I mean, using Brawl plus Bouncing Blades to remove a single card isn't the best of value, but it's still sort of that emergency plan that you have if everything goes wrong.
Curious how Zalae is going to choose to play this one. If he doesn't attack the Boombot, I don't really know what this says about his hand. I mean, attacking the Boombot, armoring up in second setting, and setting a second Fiery War Axe feels like a pretty decent play. But I think he's trying to send the signal to Lead Paint that he might be a little bit more desperate. And the Shield Block, I mean, this may be Lead Paint's turn to just kind of dump his hand onto the board. He just saw Brawl. He saw Zalae make a pretty weak turn with the Shield Block here.
Yeah.
I don't know about this one. This is a tough spot.
I think you just go halfway.
No, you don't go halfway.
You go full way. I suppose.
You go all or you go home.
I guess this is sort of halfway, because he could have played the Sorcerer's Apprentice as well. But this is also going to lock out the weapon from maybe cleaning up the board if Second Brawl does come out. So...
Can't imagine Zalae not brawling this position. It's just like, this was the turn he set up for by casting the Shield Block. So, Flamewaker is going to live. That may force a Bouncing Blade here.
Ooh, and Boombot hits for 4. So, that could open up a potential opportunity later on in the game for Lead Paint to burn him out, but still a lot of health to get through. And there's the Bouncing Blades.
That's that top corner 4 times. What are the odds of that?
I don't know. What are the odds of Bouncing Blade animations?
Someday I'll be just like
That's the real RNG.
Alright, this is one I think you go for it.
Well, now he's seen both brawls, and he's locking out some spells with this Lotheb.
Yeah.
This is actually a pretty fantastic turn here from Lead Paint.
The thing is, now his Fireballs cost 5.
Oh no! Second Sludge Belcher's got to be a welcome draw here. Just anything to stop the bleeding at this point.
Yeah. Lead Paint looks very stressed, but Double Belcher means that there's absolutely no way you can die going into the next turn. He is going to go down to 13, but there's a Naga Sea Witch on the board that can't die. So there's no chance for Fireball ping.
Yeah, Archmage would have been a good draw here as well. Just anything to get some extra gas going, but how does Lead Paint tackle it? I mean, is there ever a chance you use a burn spell from the get-go?
I don't know. I feel like you need to throw those out the face. Maybe even Frostbolt the face here, just to block out weapons.
Now that's exactly what he's going to do. Frostbolt face.
Yeah.
It's laid down to 10, but answering these 2 5/2s. Oh, and a shield block. That's a massive draw right now.
Yeah, that gets rid of the opportunity for Lead Paint to get runner Fireball to close out the game. So Lead Paint's sort of out of resources now. Even if he draws an Archmage Antonidas, he's still going to need an extra turn to draw into some type of spell to get that ball rolling.
And I think that's something Zalae's thinking about right now is what if the last threat is a Ragnaros or an Archmage? If I choose to use the Shield Slam and the Execute, it means I likely don't have an answer to one of those 2 cards.
Yeah, I mean, he can also just remove the Loatheb, and even if he takes...
That draw's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he can use the Shield Slam. Alright. Next turn, he's basically going to get out of reach of just about everything that Lead Paint can do. So I think that's probably just going to be the game here.
Yeah, even if Lead Paint draws Archmage, can't really use it here. No castable spells in hand after the Nagasi, which is gone. Arcane Intellect, decent pickup. Yeah, that guy's a bit late.
Don't think there's any secrets left. It's a possibility that there might be a counterspell still left in the deck. I don't really remember seeing one in the matches that he played on Friday. On Friday. That's that feel when you look at Golden Monkey and just think, another taunt.
I think it's time to tank up. Zalae agrees.
Indubitably.
Yeah, up to 20 versus 1 card for Lead Paint. Yeah, no secret from that mad scientist either. I think this slides out. He's gonna have to fireball that. Oh gosh, this feels bad.
Yeah. Yikes.
Yeah.
Hoping that this water elemental is gonna block out everything for the rest of the entire game.
It's got a high chance to do so.
Yeah.
Zalae's still going to take his time, though. He does still have options, even despite having the Golden Monkey.
At this point, I'd just be on autopilot.
Maybe
I know the TJ plays.
I just slam monkey.
TJ's like,
death
my
bites,
head.
Smack the face, armor up.
I'll just close my eyes and click buttons. It'll work.
Yeah. I've already counted this win on my tracker in this game. I've already put that tally.
Zalae is thinking about, is there any way I can lose this game? That's what he's thinking about right now.
Yeah. That's the sign of a smart player, because I'd be thinking about, how do I win the next game?
That's what he's planning out right now.
Yeah. So,
I'm just going to continue to play very patiently, though. This is probably better than just slamming the Golden Monkey, honestly.
getting the Grom on the board, yeah.
Yeah. That's okay, but not enough. This is like the point where like you're watching like the Nature Channel, and like the lion starts to eat the gazelle.
And you think they're gonna pan the camera away, but they just don't. They just sit there. The narrator even just stops talking about it, and the camera just stays there.
Old monkey, let's go.
All right. Well, let us see.
Almost has the mana to cast a Nat Paggle after he armors up. Tanks up, excuse me.
Don't get him confused.
Yeah. Look at Leadpaint's face. He's like, oh, really? Now
Physical
I draw flame
pain.
cannons?
Yeah. Physical pain.
Hey!
I bring life.
Deathwing, or what's the saying afterwards?
Right. Swagwing. All right,
Leadpaint
well,
finally gonna scoop him up here. 2 games apiece.
yep. Tying it all up. And Paladin Druid remaining for Zalae, and Mage Shaman remaining for Lead Paint. That's Temple Mage and Aggro Shaman. So both of those, well, I don't know. Aggro Shaman against Druid is sort of hit or miss. You can get the nuts early with minions and just blow them out, but Druid also has some tools to fight back, and sometimes they can even race. So definitely have to see. It's going to depend on these matchups. I'd imagine Zalae would try and, I don't know. It's tough. It's basically like a best of 3 with 2 decks each.
If I was in this spot, I would want if I was in Zalae's spot here, I'd want my Druid to line up against the Shaman.
Yeah.
And I think this way, this favors Lead Paint now. Like in the end, if both players are queuing up their decks at random, it doesn't matter. Which is, I think, what they should be doing at this point.
Mm-hmm.
because they're so massively favored one way or the other, I think.
Yeah.
You think of the aggro shaman matchup, you're like, oh, well, this just beats Druid, right? Druid loses to the quick decks. But if Druid kind of has their disruption early on, and they get to the late game, and they're in like all in a reasonable position, their threats are just so much larger than the shamans are. In my experience, I've played a lot of both of those decks. On the shaman side, I'm always uncomfortable versus Druid. On the Druid side, I'm always very comfortable versus shaman.
Yeah. And now if Leadpaint wins this one, I mean, he's got to win against either Secret Paladin or Druid with a Tempo Mage, which Tempo Mage does well against both of those. So I think he's got to be feeling pretty confident moving in after seeing these deck choices from this game, like you said.
Yeah. So I'm even going to keep Sludge Belcher's opening hand, and I don't mind it in this matchup. One of the ways I found I have trouble with aggro shaman in this matchup is when my opponent just kind of plays really good stuff on curve and then has the Sludge Belcher leading into a big threat. So I really like this keep from Zalae. But Leadpaint, faced with 3 very good options on the first one, is going to favor the Druid hero power here. Oh, that's a good draw from Zalae.
Yeah. I really like the Druid hero power over the life tap in this situation, because a lot of times you don't have room to life tap, it feels. So you're just sort of taking the Druid hero power to 1, in an emergency fight back on the board if you have no other play, and 2, for that Doomhammer later in the game, just to make it extra reach. Because life tap not interacting with the board can sometimes come back to bite you in a matchup where it's all about the board in the early game.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you're overloading with so many of your cards, that puts a lot of pressure on your mana. Like, where normally you'd be able to squeeze in a life tap instead you're overloaded for 2. So I think I would tend to agree with the Druid hero power here as well. Good opening for Leadpaint, though. I mean, Finley into Haunted Creeper means his board is a little bit more stable than Zalae was hoping, I imagine.
Yeah.
But with Secret Keeper Revenge here, I think his turn 2 is still looking totally fine for him.
Yeah, especially with Konghammer, because sometimes you can get in a situation where Revenge just doesn't matter, because the Shaman is just going to ignore and go face regardless. But Konghammer forces the Avenge to be procced, be used. So it's a great draw. It also just makes so many attacks have to go into whatever you choose to Konghammer, and it also makes you able to make conscious choices as to what to trade into. So that might be a little bit of a change. Actually, okay, he's going to go ahead and remove the Secret Keeper. I guess it's just a little bit too big of a threat.
Yeah, I think with the Tunnel Trawl coupled with this, he feels very comfortable doing this, and Konghammer is just going to really heavily disrupt this at this point. God, what a great turn for Zalae.
He's only taken 3 damage also. There hasn't been that crazy draw like the Tunnel Trog into coin Feral Spirits, or even just like Tunnel Trog into Knife Juggler into Feral Spirits. There wasn't a crazy draw. It was a decent opening for Leadpaint, but sometimes decent openings aren't enough, and we'll see if Zalae can keep pushing and hold on to this board. Ooh, Flame Tongue Totem. That's
a good one. Yeah, but gosh, the trade here looks so appealing too. Is this a spot where Leadpaint has to continue to fight the board position? And that's really the power that Haunted Creeper can provide in these spots, is that it keeps your opponent on like sort of a back foot. Wow, and Zalae even has options for this turn.
Options being Knife Juggler plus Shielded Minibot or Powder Shredder. Knife Juggler plus Shielded Minibot means that he'll have 5 total damage. So it means that he might get some cleaner clears onto the board if he gets like a Juggle to hit the 1/1, or even a Juggle to hit the Flame Tongue Totem. There's 3 out of 5 outcomes that I think are good.
Zalae also has the option to just take 3 damage this turn and kill off the rest of the board presence and isolate the Flame Tongue Totem, which I have found to be very effective versus Aggro Shaman. Is just, rather than killing the Flame Tongue, is isolating the Flame Tongue.
Yeah. You get punished by a few things. Feral Spirits being one of them, and also I guess Argent Horse Rider, but
misses the Juggle. And is that a missed attack as well? Zalae passed before he attacked with the second Haunted Creeper token, didn't? Oh no, he used it into the Flame Tongue Totem. My apologies.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, this can't be right.
Yeah, usually he would show some emotion on his face if that were the case, but he's just like, This belch is going to do a lot of work, though, I feel.
Yeah, Leadpaint's still kind of tiptoeing around this one. I feel like this is starting to swing a little bit in Zalae's favor. And the fact that the Lava Burst is going to have to come out to take care of the Sledge Belcher. Zalae's just too high, I think, for Leadpaint to really think about the burn plan at this point. And I think that's what he's thinking about this turn as well. You know, if he forces through 5 points of damage, he has 5 in hand, and he would need to, if Zalae doesn't have Sledge Belcher, he would need to draw 10 points of burn. So what is the likelihood of that? This is kind of interesting play as well. So Finley's going to clear off the Haunted Creeper token here, and that 2 is just going to go to face. Ooh.
Yeah, Sludge Belcher with a Mysterious Challenger to back it up. It's usually lights out for the Aggro Shaman, because missing attacks, unless they draw into absurd amounts of burn, in like those turns leading up to it, a lot of times they're not going to be able to get through that much damage.
Zalae going to take his time here as well. Wants to figure out, is there any way I can lose this game from this spot?
Yeah. There's a couple ways.
A couple crackles for 6 and do it.
Yeah. Lava Burst into Runner, crackles for 6. Plus 1 more damage to the face. That's lethal.
Yeah, the Coghammer looking like he's going to take that damage too. I wonder if he's thinking about that. I wonder if Zalae's quite literally thinking about, well, if he rips 2 crackles, I can actually still live through 2 crackles.
Yeah.
In the right situation. Like if he just plays Sludge Belcher and attacks the 1/1 here, with the I mean, I wouldn't keep my life total preserved here personally. Yeah, but he's not going to. And this is tough for Leadpaint. If he wants to kill the Sludge Belcher and get through it this turn, it takes basically his entire turn.
It takes his entire turn, and it also takes, you know, a 5 damage burst spell that he would love to point at the face instead. And then he knows that, hey, we're going into turn 6. Mysterious Challenger is probably going to come out. Then what do? I have an empty board. I'm overloaded for 2 on turn 7. What am I going to do with 5 mana against a Mysterious Challenger and a Shielded Minibot? Nothing. That's what you're going to do.
Yeah, this one I think this is pretty much done. And that's why Zalae kept the Sludge Belcher here. Forcing Lava Burst from the Shaman, if you disrupt their early game strong enough, it is lights out.
Yeah. And Zalae, a player that takes his time in his turns, he even knows what the play is on that turn. You slam that Mysterious Challenger. You end that turn.
There's that first crackle. Maybe we could have gotten there.
Yeah. I still think I think that's the play. You just hope you point the crackle at the face and you pray.
Oh, I feel so bad.
What else are you gonna do?
What's he gonna? He needs to draw like Ancestral Knowledge into like 2 burn spells. I mean, I think you're right. It just feels dumb.
He overloads this turn for 1. So next turn he goes in with 7 mana. That's enough mana for Ancestral Knowledge, Lava Burst, and a second crackle.
We're reaching deep on this one.
He only needs to crackle for 5 this turn. If he's confident that his other crackle that he'll draw in the next turn will overload for 6, or will hit for 6.
Yeah, I'm gonna crackle for 4.
Now he has 0 outs.
That feels so bad.
Yeah.
Zalae has locked this one up. There's no way that Leadpaint's getting through this.
Yeah.
We're going to game 6, boys.
Yeah. I mean, let's see. Is there a miracle that can happen? I'm thinking any other outs, but Zalae can navigate this in a way, I'm almost positive, where he can set up a lethal for next turn. If he Blessing of Kings his Mysterious Challenger and hits face and plays Shielded Minibot, he'll put his opponent to 14. Ooh, maybe not. Is there a way that he can guarantee it over 2 turns?
Yeah, I mean, if your opponent has to point a burn spell one of your minions, that's pretty much guaranteed. I think Zalae's thinking about, is there any reason to ever play the Piloted Shredder? Like, because if Leadpaint kills the Piloted Shredder and gets a Doomsayer, I mean, that's how high of a chance Zalae has to win this game. Is I actually don't even think he's supposed to play the Piloted Shredder here. 14, 15, 16. Yeah,
It's not enough, but it also, by trading in, he eliminates chargers. So he could have just gone face. He has Noble Sacrifice still up, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
So if he just went face with that 7 damage, I think that removes less outs.
Yeah, there we go. Game 6, Zalae is up 3-2. Zalae kind of looks a little bit frustrated with his play there too, but I think it's right. I don't think you're supposed to play. I don't think you're supposed to play the Pilot Shredder, and I think what he was thinking about the alternative was just trading into 3/3, loading up on the Mysterious Challenger, and attacking for 11. That was the alternative, I think, that turn. But either way, it's pretty much impossible for Leadpaint to climb out of that situation.
Yeah, I definitely say so. But now Zalae is 1 win away from playing dog in the finals of this feature tournament number 2. Leadpaint has to win 2 games in a row now. They are doable. Tempo Mage versus Druid is going to be the first matchup that he has to overcome, which is definitely possible.
Yeah, it's really going to rely on whether or not Leadpaint lands like a really devastating Mirror Entity. Almost every single time Mirror Entity gets played against me and I'm playing the Druid, I feel like the game is so hard to win. But if that card doesn't come into effect, you kind of just can 1-for-1 all of their cards and then scale into your bigger threats. But that's still difficult to do. I mean, Tempo Mage is kind of going, toe for toe with you at a lot of those steps, and Leadpaint's even got Water Elemental back behind it. So just the extra health on that one minion that also has the freeze effect, that affects the combat a lot.
Yeah. Yep. Very true. And both players are just going to hold out their mulligans. When it gets down to this close, you really don't want to give any additional information away to your opponent. If you show your opponent that you're mulliganing away more cards, it might make them more inclined to keep like removal spells early on. It's a lot of the times it doesn't have effect, but in that small case where it does, you don't want to have given your opponent an advantage in a situation where it matters.
Yeah, good opening here for Leadpaint. Mana Worm is by far the best minion that you can have on turn 1 with Tempo Mage.
Makes playing Living Roots a little bit awkward as well.
Yep, that's one of the reasons why it's so good. You kind of mentioned this at one point, that Mana Worm was the key that unlocked the door to Mage Paradise.
Yeah. You innovate out the shade here, you're kind of screwed for your next couple turns.
Yeah. They think about Flame Cannon, too. I mean, if you innovate Shade and they Flame Cannon it, you're pretty much donezo.
Yeah. All right, well, he's on the I'm Hero Power in this sucker next turn plan.
Yeah. Looking at turn 4, Dr. Boom, I think is Zalae. It's where his aim is at right now. So Leadpaint's going to look to get on board super quick and try to punish Zalae for this, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah. Dealing with a Dr. Boom as a Tempo Mage early on in the game is so tough. Let's see. Frostbolt, Arcane Missiles, and Arcane Blast. That's 8 total damage. Even those 3 spells don't deal with Dr. Boom by themselves. So he's going to have to trade in his board. It's going to be a lot of resources used early on. Duplicate, don't even know. Zalae might be worried about Counterspell, but he saw last game that there was no secrets pulled. He saw Duplicate Mirror Entity only.
Yep.
Got to be feeling confident. This is
check for Mirror Entity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sees that it's not there, and this is going to be an Arcane Missile from Leadpaint. Would love to pick up a Flame Waker with this, I'm sure. Unstable Portal.
Let's see.
Not quite.
No. Usually want to.
Oh, jeez.
Oh no!
That's potential disaster.
Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. It feels when you're on that downhill spiral, and Leadpaint is experiencing that right now, especially since I can only imagine what this turn will hold.
I mean, you just got to go for it, right? This is the turn.
It's not like you don't have plays after going for it. You have Azure Drake next turn. You could even keep her next turn if you really wanted to.
I think
maybe he's worried about Fireball. Maybe he's worried about, hey, I'm at 20 health. I've taken a lot of damage. Maybe I need to be a little bit proactive. But
and I will say alternative is like Keeper of the Grove this turn into Dr. Boom on turn 5 into Azure Drake Coin Wrath on turn 6.
Yeah,
that's really the only alternative I'm seeing, though.
He can Keeper and Wrath this turn. Keeper plus Innervate Wrath this turn. And just remove the board.
That ties up your Dr. Boom till turn 6.
It does, but it's not like you don't have a play for next turn. But
let's
yeah,
go for
let's do it. Stop talking about it. Just do it.
Now, do you trade the shade or not? I think that's really the big issue here.
It's a big pickup. That's a big pickup, but
A little too big.
unfortunately, Tempo Mage does not have access to cast spell Innervate.
What if he had Innervate and he was like so excited about the Ragnaros draw and he's like, yes! He Innervates, he's like, oh, I only have 7 mana, no!
Yeah, unfortunately not the best, and I don't even know what you do here. You just use your entire hand to remove a Dr. Boom, and then hope that you draw into burn spells to win the game. That looks like it's gonna be the plan, and
It's going to be kind of a rude interruption. Oh, that's a good Boombot for him, though.
yeah.
Zalae's just got all the cards. Take out the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Couple it with the Azure Drake, and maybe even Bash for 4 here. I mean, you just saw Frostbolt and Arcane Blast. Start the attacks with the Shade.
Yeah, you have Savage Roar in your hand. You have the second Shade, which means that you're probably going to play that before the Savage Roar. I like it. Why not?
Why not, indeed. 2 Sorcerer's Apprentice in hand for Lead Paint. Pretty much no help. And this is looking like lights out. This is a very strong start from Zalae here. And Lead Paint's hand was also a little bit weak in the open. Had like 2 fantastic cards and also 2 kind of mediocre cards. And that Dr. Boom's going to be a little bit late, I'd say. Wow, Zalae. Second Innervate pickup.
And he's got an Azure Drake on the board. He can just Wrath and smack down a Piloted Shredder. And just push the 9 damage.
And your opponent didn't answer either of your minions last turn. So they probably just can't do anything.
Yeah.
Right positioning from Zalae as always. Picture perfect play. And I think that's going to do it. I mean, this Dr. Boom means that you die on board.
Yeah, there's no way.
You can always Flame Cannon Doomsayer.
You know, when your tournament life is on the line, you gotta go for it. Even though it's a very small chance, you have to take the 1 in 3, and then you have to take the 1 in, I don't know, 80 something now. I don't even know how many 2-drops there are, but that's enough damage. That is going to do it. Yep, and even a little bit of overkill if you wanted to with the Innervate plus the Druid of the Claw. So that's going to be Zalae moving on to the feature number 2 finals to fight against Dog.
Yeah, he's actually, Zalae and Dog have met, I checked this right before this event. I believe they've met 4 times, and they're split on those matches. They're 2 games apiece. Or, I'm sorry, 2 matches apiece. Lifetime between the 2 of them in tournament play.
Oh wow! So this has a lot more implications than just a spot at a 25K Premier tournament. It also is bragging rights, which is arguably just as important.
I think it's more important personally.
Yeah, especially for pro players at the top end of competitive play. But I'd say that was an impressive performance by Zalae. It looked like the weak point for Lead Paint was that 5th deck that he brought, the Tempo Mage. It's a good idea. It fits his theme for decks, but maybe just a little bit outside of, not used to playing 5 decks in a competitive environment. You see Lead Paint, he plays those 4 decks all the time. Adding Tempo Mage might have been his downfall.
Yeah, it didn't really perform that well, but I can't fault him for bringing it. I think his play was on point in a lot of situations. He just found himself in a lot of tough spots, and Zalae just continuing to make the best use out of his cards turn after turn. It's one of those matchups where you're going to have to get the right draws if you want to beat a player like Zalae. He's just so good that you need card quality to beat him, and didn't show up this time for Lead Paint.
Yeah, Tempo Mage sometimes has that inconsistencies. But the final is set. It is Zalae versus Dog. We want to give you guys another quick reminder that ONOG and Geico will be at PAX East just next week. So if you are going to be at PAX East, make sure you check out the booth. There are still 128 spots open for the major that will be taking place. So that's a $10,000 prize pool tournament with 43 Hearthstone Championship points on the line. Signups are on-site only, so if you're going to be there and you want to play in that tournament, make sure you head on over there and sign up. If you're not going to be there, check it out on Twitch. We'll be right here on this channel next week, the 22nd to the 24th. For that major. Also, still doing the CyberPower PC giveaway. So during the break, head over to guycode.onog.gg, sign up to win that PC, and enter in for that open tournament, which happens on April 30th in 2 weeks. But we are going to have to take a quick break before we jump into the finals. But don't go anywhere. The conclusion to feature tournament number 2 here at the One Nation of Gamers 2016 circuit will continue right after this. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the One Nation of Gamers 2016 circuit. We're about to jump into the final match of Future Tournament number 2 to determine the champion. Once again, I'm TJ, and I am joined by ThatsAdmirable, Nathan ThatsAdmirable Zamora, champion of the West.
Is that what they call me?
That's what they call you on the streets.
That's right. I am the champion of the West. 0 tournament victories thus far in Hearthstone, but plenty of top 8s and top 16s in the big Blizzard events, but not quite that big finish I'm looking for.
All right. Well, I know 2 people that are looking for that big finish, and that's going to be Zalae and Dog. They've had some good finishes, but I know, to say the least. But I know they want to add one more onto that resume, and I know exactly what tournament that one more is, and that's the feature tournament number 2 of the 2016 One Nation of Gamers circuit. And they also want to qualify for PAX and win that as well. It's a $25,000 premier tournament So lots on the line for these players. The difference between first and second place is $3,000 for first, $1,500 for second, and of course that PAX Prime qualification. So I'd say this is a pretty big deal, Admirable.
Yeah, and they're looking to take the lead in their lifetime matches as well. 2 matches apiece for them in the past. So the winner of this one takes that 3-2 lead in matchups. And to me, that's the more important one, is being able to say, hey, I've won more than you than we've met in the past.
Yeah,
think about that. Just let that loom over your head for a second.
Yeah, and another thing, these 2 players were the 2 invited players. So one thing that I like to keep track of is how many of the open players make it into the finals and how many of the invited players. And so far, it's been a large mix. Over the course of the last season, the circuit in 2015 for One Nation of Gamers, and if you look back at the first feature tournament for 2016, it's been a good mix. We have Eversiction, who's already qualified. He made it through an open tournament. So now I guess we have 2 invited players in here. It's only fitting that for the second feature, we have an invited player to make it in. So I'm looking for that really strong lineup to see at PAX Prime for that finals at the end of the year. And I would love to see either Zalae or Dog make it into that group of players.
Yeah, anytime you see these 2 competing in an event, they're always a threat to win the whole thing. And when I talk about threat to win the whole thing, I don't mean like, oh, yeah, sure, anyone can win the event. It's Hearthstone. I mean, if I have to pick a player who I think is going to win, these 2 guys' name pop to the forefront of my mind. They've just had such fantastic years in the last 2. Zalae was actually number 1 in points in 2015. Dog has just been on fire since last summer, putting up finish after finish. And Zalae just continues to improve his play. He's one of the strongest technical players out there, I think. He's never going to shy away from being patient. He's not someone who's going to get rushed. He doesn't get tilted. As far as the mental aspect is concerned, he might be the strongest mental player that's out there. But in terms of finishes right now, Dog has just been on fire for months on end.
Yeah, even like last season, I believe he got a top 100 finish in March, which for a player that streams as much as he does is pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Not only did he get that top 100 finish, but actually in the closing hours, you'll find a lot of people who are top 100, they just wait. There's no incentive for them to play.
They don't
Dog
queue,
was just streaming his matches, playing in the top 25 with no delay. He was just playing.
Yeah, he was like at 22, and he was streaming. He was at 22. There was like 45 minutes left. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna queue. Like, who does that? Like, you're only gonna gain like 5 points by like winning again, and you're gonna lose like 60 if you lose a match at that rating that close to the end of the season. So, bold call by him, and I really like his sort of attitude and his play style. But we are going to jump into the first match here. It's going to be Dog's mid-range Paladin versus Zalae's Secret Paladin.
Yeah, this is one I don't have a ton of experience with. I mean, if you're familiar with me at all, I'm not a big fan of these slower decks right now. I think that the aggro decks are so strong, and it's very difficult to justify not playing them. But Dog has brought quite a wealth of control decks into his lineup, and he's been doing great with them so far. And this could be one of the reasons why. I mean, this turn, it's looking good for Zalae. Does get to chew up this board a little bit, but Dog really has kind of the control over this game right now, I'd say. I mean, Zalae has 2 copies of Coghammer in hand. Does have Mysterious Challenger here on 5. But Dog has got Consecrate. He's got Iron Begal. He's got Aldor Peacekeeper in his hand. I mean, what is actually a threat versus him right now?
Nothing. And that's what it seems like with mid-range Paladin. They just have so many ways to just remove. If they have Aldor Peacekeepers to just sort of stall, and then eventually, if you make it past all that stuff, and you get past the Owl, you get past the Aldor, those are quality consecrate your board, and you have to start from scratch. So, wow, this deck's been performing extremely well for Dog over the course of the weekend.
Picks up the big game hunter here too, so if he can find a way to actually proc the Noble Sacrifice while the Mysterious Challenger is isolated, he's got another answer to that. I mean, it's looking pretty good for him, but this turn he's actually agonizing over this one a bit. I think he's reluctant to play this Aldor Peacekeeper, but it's looking like the play to me.
Yeah. He knows, well, I don't know. I was going to say he knows that he has a play for Mysterious Challenger. I suppose he still does. Just, depends where this Avenge falls, I guess, if Zalae does decide to play Mysterious Challenger. If it falls on the Keeper of Oldman, then all of a sudden there's no BGH target, and that Keeper of Oldman is going to prove to be an issue.
Yeah, this went from like the 50% chance for Dog to have I'm sorry, for the 100% chance for Dog to have a great position to suddenly 50% chance. And I think that's where the expression came from, is he knows that he's vulnerable in this spot. Picks up second Elder Peacekeeper, though.
Ooh, so that means he has an out no matter what, but he still wants this to go on to the Mysterious Challenger. Let's see.
And it does. Great turn now from Dog. I mean, this went from potentially like a close, tough turn for him to suddenly he is so far ahead at this point. And you can see it in Zalae's face too. He's like, "Yup, this is pretty much the one thing I didn't want to happen." And the fact that he drew redemption on the turn he played the turn before he played the Mysterious Challenger too. That's a big setback to him. It's the difference between having a 6-1 and having not a 6-1 on the table right now.
Yeah, losing your board here as the Secret Paladin is one of the worst things that can happen, because it's so hard for you to reload, especially if you have something that's isolated. It makes it so easy for the mid-range Paladin to just remove.
Yep. Still plenty of play this turn for Zalae, though. I mean, Dog's kind of lacking action, honestly. The one thing he doesn't have is a big threat right now. Time is really, I feel like, the biggest threat from Dog. If he's able to extend the game long enough, it's got to be massively in his favor.
Yeah, I'd say so. And Zalae just doesn't know what to do here. I mean, Coghammer, you got to get those rolling. I think it's whether or not he wants to sort of like play the Knife Juggler first, maybe, or even hold on to the Knife Juggler potentially. But since he's going to play the Redemption, he wants to make sure that he has good targets on the board to get redeemed.
Yeah, just leaves the 1-1 up. Not really too big of a deal for him. And Dog just draws more heal. I mean, no threat this turn is kind of an issue.
Yeah, it is. Means you give a sort of a free turn over to Zalae to do whatever he wants with. And, I mean, you're going into turn 7. You can only expect. Mysterious Challenger was played. It's in the deck. Dr. Boom's coming.
Yeah, that's really the big advantage I think that Secret Paladin has, is past turn 6, their card quality just goes way up if they play Mysterious Challenger.
Yeah.
Second Keeper of Voldemort. I mean, this might be a second Coghammer here for Zalae. I don't know, though. I mean, with the way that panned out, he maybe just be eyeing the Loatheb and thinking this could be his turn to push.
And I think he's got to go for
juggle.
it.
That's a nice juggle. Hitting that antique heal bot.
Might be turning around a little bit.
Yeah. Using the 2-4 to clear here, I don't mind this. The Knife Juggler, though, I think this is pointed at the dome. Yep. This is looking rough. Elder Peacekeeper can cut into the damage a bit, but he's losing the board position, and that's something that's very dangerous. Is that if this builds too much, it's just going to be overwhelming. I mean, sure, he's got my own hands. Sure, he's got Consecrate, but this is the spot where if Zalae starts drawing his big threats, Dog's in a lot of trouble.
Yes, he is. And you don't want to just throw all of your threats out, because you know that your outs in this situation are sort of like board clears. And if you just throw your stuff out to get killed, then it makes like the board clears feel less good, because you don't have the stuff to reload. So I like that he just sort of holds on to the Knife Juggler here, because that can get a lot more value as the game goes on. You know, if he draws into a muster for battle, if he draws into a board clear and can reload, the Knife Juggler is going to come into play. And the 2 juggles that he would get from playing it that turn would probably be inconsequential. So I like that he holds on to it.
More sniping juggles here from Zalae. He's had high % chance to make a big impact to the Knife Juggler. He finally misses one, but...
I don't know if that's a miss. I think anything that goes to the face is right on target.
Just take the damage. Why not?
Yeah.
We don't need to kill minions. Yeah, 1-1's going to bite the dust here. And it's looking like Loatheb's lined up in that other 1-1 as well. Just keep your board protected and start hammering away. Mm-hmm. And that Knife Juggler's actually, in the face of Consecrate, it's going to be the first one to die. So it even has a redemption set up for the Knife Juggler at this point. And I don't think Dog has an option. He's just got to lay on hands.
Got to find that equality.
At this point, 11 points of damage here, too.
Yeah, at this point, it's a necessity. Finds the zombie chow. That little guy's going to do his best to fight back on this board.
Yeah, this is going to be a really tough one to fight back with, though. Zalae's about to have 7 minions in play.
He's also going to push so much damage this turn.
Yeah, this is looking ugly for Dog, that's for sure. This is that first juggle. I mean, maybe it's not a miss. I don't know. It's tough to tell what he wants. I mean, I imagine he wants to kill the zombie chow here.
Yeah. He just wants at least one of those juggles to hit the zombie chow. That's what he's looking for.
Anytime Pilot Shredder attacks and it's unchecked, it is a miserable feeling. Dog pretty much needs equality right here.
Yeah.
And even equality,
Oh!
it doesn't even really answer the entire board, though. I mean, Dog's getting a 3-1 back. He's got a 2-2 shield. He's got a 1-4 shield. He's got a Pilot Shredder drop. He's got Keeper Voldemort in his hand.
I mean, he could silence and then equality consecrate, so he can eliminate some of this. Like some of the residual damage.
I wonder if there's ever an argument for equality in Knife Juggler.
There's a lot of stuff on board. That Knife Juggler can... I mean, if it hits either of the Divine Shields and then hits, like, the Piloted Shredder, you're looking at a rough spot, especially since it hits Piloted Shredder first. Knife Juggler could come out and hit it, so... Okay, it doesn't even use the Iron Beak Owl, so just going to go ahead and take whatever comes out of this Piloted Shredder.
Yeah, there's the redemption. 3-1. 2-1 back behind this. And Knife Juggler's not looking so bad here. Ooh, Snipes at 3-1 too.
Best target.
Oh! Oh, gosh. That is a disgusting good draw.
You talked about earlier that Zalae loves to ask himself questions, and I'm sure as soon as that came out, he's like, "Is that good?
Is this one okay?
Is this good?
Is this the one I needed? 'Cause I feel like this was the one I needed.
I think it's pretty good."
Yeah, it's okay. I guess I'll play Dr. Boob. Whew. Wow. I mean, this is almost completely lights out at this point. Dog's down at 12. You're looking at maximum 2 cards he can play in a single turn, and none of them really affect the board state. I mean, Tyrion's a big taunt that gives you Ashbringer, but when your opponent's out of range and you're the one getting beat down, that Tyrion does not look nearly as good.
Yeah. You know, he's got to play it just to sort of fight back here, but yeah, is it too late? Sounds as a boom, but oh man, that never feels good.
Keeper Voldemort can chew in this damage too. Is this lethal here?
I think it is with Keeper, because you can throw that. You can throw one of the 1/1s in, guarantee that last boombot goes to face.
Yeah, I think this is lethal here.
Yeah.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yep. Even regardless of where the boombot goes, it's lethal.
Yeah. And that's going to be Zalae taking game number 1 in a grueling match. You know, yeah.
Oh, this is lethal. I think Zalae's just counting it 4 or 5 times to make sure.
Yeah, he could have guaranteed that boombot went face, but you know it doesn't matter at all. So, just double checking, and yeah, Zalae takes game number 1.
Very clean game for him. I mean, that Dr. Boob pickup was just so sick. I mean, granted, second Mysterious Challenger is pretty good. His own Tyrion draw is fantastic as well. We haven't seen Ragnaros from him, but that's not to say it's not in the build. He does have 2 copies of Coghammer. I would tend to say it's probably not in the build when I see 2 Coghammers, but either way, you know, fairly high threat density towards the end. But Dr. Boom was just the lights out one. I mean, there was no coming back for Dog after that one.
Yeah,
already used
sure.
both outdoor Peacekeepers, already used Keeper Voldemort. Quality was down.
All right, well, Dog, you know, it's hard to tell how these lineups match up against each other. Dog's got some interesting decks here with lots of control. He's got Demon Handlock. He's got what we assumed was Malagos Rogue. Looking at the list that he threw out there, so he's just sort of got what's good. You know, he's got the decks that are probably the strongest right now. He's got Secret Paladin. He's got Control Warrior. He's got Aggro Shaman. These are all decks that are just strong right now.
And that's typically the kind of player he is. You know, he's not very fancy on his lineups. He's just going to play the decks that he has the highest win rates with. It's been very, very successful with him in his career so far. You know, I don't blame anyone for taking that route. And
Yeah.
wow, what an opener for Zalae here. Whew.
Yeah, that's what you want. Is you just want minions to fight. You never want to be stuck with a handful of spells early on, and these leopard gnomes are going to get so much damage, especially since Dog doesn't even have a solid turn 2 play. He doesn't have like a haunted creeper. Oh, well, he does have a shielded mini bot. Spoke too soon there.
Sometimes. Yeah, for Dog, I think his plays are pretty much spelled out. I'm sorry, for Zalae, I think his plays are fairly spelled out here, though. I mean, this is just going to be a damage push, I imagine.
Yeah.
He knows that Muster for Battle is very likely here, so he's going to eye what the Haunted Creeper looks like. Man, I'm Totem Golem all the way right here. Now, it does affect his curve a little bit, though. If he plays the Totem Golem, he's not getting the Abusive Sergeant on board. So actually, the Haunted Creeper, I think, is a little bit better because of that.
It still means that the minion you're putting on the board is a lot weaker. But it's a possibility. Man, that shielded mini bot made things so much better, I feel.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this went from Dog just dying early on to what's happening to suddenly have a realistic chance to win this game, and that's a pretty fantastic draw as well.
But what do you go? Okay, yeah, Knife Juggler, Abusive Sergeant. There is a potential for a board clear here, and protecting the Knife Juggler could be a big deal. Just diversifying your assets.
Well.
That's not where you want it to go.
Oh!
That's. Well, I mean, sometimes it's not where you want it to go, but sometimes I think that's where you want it to go. Dog's already at 18 health. You know he's going to trade this board, but I guess you wanted to preserve that Knife Juggler. And that's the thing that I think Zalae's probably said about the most. And Zalae actually just smiles and shakes it off. One thing to note is the players can actually see each other's reactions. They're actually sort of in the program we use, they're in a sort of room together where they can both just see their cameras side by side, which is a cool thing. It sort of simulates them being across from each other in like a LAN environment, so they can see each other's reactions. So poker faces matter.
Yeah, I love that feel too. I love when I can see my opponent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, against
Watch
these
them
two,
sweat.
against these two, I would say the facial reactions. You know, they probably have a good control over what's going on. Maybe even sending fake signals at times, so I would tend to not pay attention to it. But I've definitely been to some tournaments where against weaker opponents, I pick up on some of the physical movements they make. I could tell when they're uncomfortable about something, and I'll take that opportunity to push the action.
Yeah.
But here, yeah, the Crackle is such an undesired play from Zalae, because in addition to having the failure rate, he's also like super weak to True Silver Champion now, and he's also pretty weak against Sludge Belcher. And Dog just happens to have both of them.
Yeah, now he just doesn't have burn also. So that's going to be his downfall as well.
This is definitely the kind of opening you want if you're Dog. Like, the juggles just went so well for him. Yeah, just Aldor Peacekeeper. Doesn't really have to do anything. Just save the Sludge Belcher for Doomhammer if you can. It's like such a good follow-up to that play.
Yeah.
And this might just be... I mean, this might be face damage and hope at this point.
Yeah, that seems like so many Aggro Shaman games are, face damage and hope. You get to a certain point, like by turn 6, it's like, well, at this point I just can't trade. So I'm just going face, and I'm hoping.
I do like his trade here, though. Dog at 15. There's still a chance here for this reach to happen. Can't kill the totem this turn. And so the Flame Tongue is, potentially threatening some damage here. But that Sludge Belcher is quickly going to bring that to a halt.
Yeah. And I don't know if Zalae's going to have enough to push through this. This is going to be a lot of health to get through with not very many resources. He's going to have Flame Tongue to sort of trade back here. But
wow.
Ooh.
Dog actually going to go with this, and this opens him to this damage now.
Feral Spirits can also be pretty good. At the very least, it buys time for more burn, I suppose. But Midrange Paladin, you can't really hope that burn's going to stick as much. They have a lot more heals. They have Lay on Hands. They have Anti-Heal Bot. And they do have threats to plot behind those heals. So I still think Dog's in a favorable position. But if Zalae pushes damage now and then draws some burn, he could change. This could change around a little bit.
Yeah, I still think he's debating the trades a bit here, but I don't see them happening. I guess the other option is, do you totem first or totem second? The positioning on those could potentially matter with the Flame Tongue on board.
Yeah. It's a really tough call. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Here we go, boys.
Send it up.
Wow. Actually got a trade here. Really interesting.
Especially since that Flame Tongue Totem's looking awfully lonely over there on the far left.
I think it's the new term for isolated buffs like that. Like Direwolf Alpha, he's a lonely Direwolf Alpha.
Yeah.
He needs his pack with him.
Awfully lonely. There's one thing that a Flame Tongue Totem needs in life, and that's a friend to the left. Beyonce knew it well.
I'm thinking of that the Toy Story song.
You got a friend in me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Overload continues to be a little bit of an issue. Not missing too much. I mean, the totems don't really mean that much in this matchup. It's really like get on the ground running, hope that you burn to follow up.
Yeah.
And Zalae's early game got disrupted so hard. And it's really on that shielded minibot that Dog drew. If he didn't draw shielded minibot, I think he was actually in bad shape this game.
Yeah. Because the difference between having to hero power that and having an extra 2/2 on the board to fight against, the extra tokens that were spawning is a pretty big deal, I'd say. So now, what's interesting is that Zalae has a Paladin Shredder in his Aggro Shaman deck. It's good because if you're running the Flame Tongue Totems, because it gives you sort of a more likely to have something on the board for the follow-up turn, but by itself, it doesn't have an immediate impact. It's sort of in a similar vein as Totem Golem, I guess, but it doesn't come out nearly as early.
Yeah, I'm just going to try to make use of what he can, but at the end of the day, I think this one's it's a lost cause. Dog's just got all the answers. Now, I say that, and 2 burn spells can just change everything, but Zalae doesn't strike me as an ancestral knowledge player. Especially when he's got Pilot Shredder. Where does the room come in?
Yeah. Ancestral Knowledge is not included in a lot of lists. I think you were maybe one of the players who used to not put it in. I'm not sure if you've changed your ways.
Yeah, I'm pretty much... I've been playing 1 copy recently. I'm not sure how happy I am with it, but Zalae just even going to choose to play the big game hunter here. Run over his punt stuff. And yeah, that's not good enough.
Need a board for that.
It's a lonely, abusive sergeant.
He doesn't care which side his friend's on, though.
That's true.
He'll conform.
Yeah, Dr. Boomman up to the table. 4 swinging across. I think this is a 2-turn closeout here from Dog. Even going to swing the True Silver Champion here. Plays around Double Crackle. Even though Zalae can't have that. Does play around Lava Burst and Crackle as well. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1 damage off for Dog this turn.
Spell Power Totem plus Lava Burst plus Crackle was a potential lethal. Exactly 13 damage with highest roll Crackle. But, yeah.
Oh,
it's 1 damage off, actually.
Why not?
Yeah, you might as well. You could even get Boombot. You can even get Boombot lethal here. But you lay on hand seems like the right course of action. And even picks up an anti-kill bot. And Zalae goes ahead and concedes. And that means the series is all tied up at 1 apiece. We've had some close series today overall. And we'll have to see both players taking just wins with their Paladins. That seems to be a trend also throughout the day here. Paladin very successful.
Yeah, it's always pretty much a good tournament deck. It's matchups that it's weak in. It's not too weak in, aside from like maybe Freeze Mage. And then the rest of them, if you just get strong enough draws, Paladin can just win. And that's part of the appeal, I think, of this deck in tournaments is that it doesn't really have too many weak spots, I feel like. If your opponent's going to build an entire lineup for it, especially in a best-of-7 format, that means they need to bring 5 decks that are potentially strong against Paladin. It's really difficult to isolate in most of those situations.
Especially since most decks, it just has that 50% win rate against, at least. Like, it's even are favored against almost everything out there.
Yeah. So it's going to be Zoo versus Control Warrior for Zoo for Zalae and Control Warrior for Dog. And what an opening hand a Dog has. I mean, you can't ask for much more when you're playing against Zoo.
You can't really. Bash plus the Fiery War Axe is great. You can even hold on to a Brawl, because that card's always going to have a good use. It's a little bit slower, but
he's actually going to keep all 4 cards. Yeah. Unless he just mulligans so fast that we didn't see him.
Which sometimes Dog does. So you can never always guarantee that's the case. So
now we do see a twist here. Zalae is bringing Hobgoblin, and this is kind of like almost like one of his signature cards. I know he plays this list a ton, and it brings a very different dynamic to this. If you get to a board position where you can load up on a bunch of 1-power minions and have the buff swing to every single one of them from the Hobgoblin, that can put a lot of pressure on players.
That it can.
That could be the reason why Dog kept the Brawl in his hand, knowing that Zalae is potentially bringing this build. Goldshire Footman may even be the take here.
Oh, man, I love it. I love it. Goldshire Footman. I think that's Goldshire Footman, you get the value of the taunt. I guess slowly Squire, you can buff it up first and then, get that continued buff with the hero power, but Goldshire Footman ain't getting much better.
He's ready for action. He's just playing it this turn.
On a scale of 1 to ready for action, how ready for action are you?
Goldshire Footman. Yeah, this is going to be a sudden stop to this, though. Dog's got Deathlord in his hand. When I'm playing these aggro decks, I've noticed that when Warrior goes Fiery War Axe Deathlord, I have like an almost 0% win rate.
Yeah. Give or take, right around a few zeros. Okay, let's see.
How overwhelming Abuse Sergeant's a pretty good answer to that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see an extra minion from this as well. Maybe squeeze in a Hobgoblin. Ooh,
that'd be spicy.
That'd be tingly.
Commander Vargas, not the best.
Same stats, though.
I prefer almost anything else.
I think he would have wanted the Sea Giant here.
Yeah.
That'd be okay. Ooh, second Fiery War Axe. Dog just chewing through these minions. With Slam and Bash, he still has yet to use them. How's Zalae going to get a presence this game? Well, that may be a way.
I don't even know.
Jam that Lotha, let's go.
Yeah. So this matchup, how does Hobgoblin Zoo fare better against the Control Warrior than the normal Zoo? I feel like you can't reload as well. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I would say not. Brawl is just so effective versus you, and you're missing some of that end game burst that you normally have. Like you think Leroy Jenkins, you think Doomguard, and typical Zoo decks. You certainly fight a lot better against just, I think, minion-to-minion action.
Yeah.
But, I mean, look at this. 2 Sea Giants now. There's just nothing to play. Does he Hobgoblin here?
You might as well use one of them, right? Like, if
no, I don't think you might as well.
If you ask me, like, if you have 4 cards in your hand, what are the 2 cards that you have 2 of that you would want the least? And I would probably say, well, Hobgoblin and Sea Giant, easy.
Deathwing.
4 Deathwings?
Clockwork Giant.
Yeah, I guess so. You got me there.
I can keep going. Priests of Elune.
Goldshire Footman.
I think Zalae would like a couple Goldshire Footmen right now. He's got 2 copies of Hobgoblin.
Yeah, I played a game the other day where I had a Deathbite equipped and no cards left, and I was playing against the Tempo Mage, and I was like, okay, I win 100% next turn. He unstable portals a Priestess of Elune to bring himself up to 5, and I couldn't lethal him.
Yes.
So Priestess of Elune, those things are sick.
Yep, clear board for Zalae, and 2 10-mana Sea Giants in hand. I think this might be Hobgoblin, Void Voidwalker.
They work against each other because you can't play the Sea Giants because you have too many because you don't have anything on the board. But you also just have Hobgoblins, but you don't want to play your Hobgoblins. Alright, well there it is.
Yeah, no goblins or gnomes this turn, just a Voidwalker. Just a Voidwalker. Just a 5/7 taunt.
Yeah, I think there was a 5/7 revealed today. A 5/7 taunt revealed today. Something Arakoa. Corrupted Arakoa, perhaps. Druid class card.
+3/+3 to your Cthulhu, wherever it is.
Wherever it is. Doesn't matter.
I love that card. That's going to make me play Cthulhu. Dark Arakoa is the name of that one. It just came to me.
What I want to know, what I've been thinking about for a long time is, what if your opponent steals your Cthulhu with Sylvanas? Is it still your Cthulhu?
No, it's not. They stole it. It's theirs. It's legally their property.
Whoa! Okay. Whoa! Hello. That's what I'm talking about. You go all in though.
It is running right into Brawl, which I think Zalae thinks that Dog doesn't have given last turn. I mean, Deathbite attack of 5/7 bash was not super strong, and he's loading everything on the board.
Yeah. But he's at 9 health now, so
Yeah, I mean,
if he brawls and a 5/7 comes out of this, then he has to attack into it and revenge in order to clear it off the board. Ooh. Okay.
It's still kind of a brutal attack, though. I mean, you're at 9. Ugh. This is going to be close. 2 Sea Giants in hand. I don't think Zalae's hand can be possibly worse right now. I think he'd actually like those Priestess of Elune a little bit more.
What about 3 Sea Giants?
Oh, gosh.
That's not looking good. I mean, I think at this point you even just keep the Knife Juggler.
If you implosion your own Knife Juggler, do you get the Juggles?
Yeah. Right? Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. I've never been in that situation.
Wait, can you even implosion your own minions?
Yep.
Okay. I don't know. I've never been in that situation.
That one
I'm sure
I've implosioned my own eggs so often.
Yeah.
I never draw an activator.
Yeah. I've also implosioned Divine Shields before. Those are embarrassing. The first time's embarrassing. The second time,
that's just Artosis.
just like I just quit. I quit Hearthstone.
You know, he tried to execute his own Sylvanas twice.
Oh yeah.
Did you know that?
The
first time is funny, but the second time, like, I was like, you experienced this like a week ago.
We're talking about the 2013 Hearthstone World Champ. Wait, no. It was
13.
2013 Hearthstone World Champion.
That's right, EU. We're up 2 world champions to 1 right now.
That's right. That's right. Asia and Asia Pacific. The rest of the world is at 3-0.
Revenge, clear off that little Knife Juggler, and then Dr. Boom.
All right. Well, you can double implosion the Dr. Boom, and maybe if you double implosion the Dr. Boom, there's a high likelihood that you can play both Sea Giants. Also
Dr. Boom lives.
And if the Dr. Boom dies, if you roll a 3 and then a 4, or a 4 and then a 3. He rolled a 3. He killed it. Oh, no. Well, I say oh no, but I guess that's a good thing.
Dog's kind of fighting for his life here still. I mean, the 1/1s are still a threat. And not like a little one. I mean, he does have Deathbite to start to keep the damage high, but
I can take the hit.
yeah, I can't blame him for this one. 14. What could kill him here? It would take a lot. Oh.
Well, the thing is, Zalae's now at 14 himself, which means that Deathbite plus a Grom kills him. So that means he might be even more inclined to play the Defender of Argus to play around that. But I don't know how he's feeling right now about the chances that dog does have that lethal potential. This is tough. This is real tough. And then you have to, I mean, I guess, can you play everything? So 4, then it'll cost 3, and then it'll cost 2. So 4 plus 3 plus 2 is 9. So he can play everything. Oh, no, he can't, because he has to trade something in. Doesn't have the board space. Yikes.
It's got to move. He's going to go for life tap here. Oh, he needed the time to think about this. Yeah, very effective trades here, though.
Yeah, I like that. I think he found a good spot as long as he gets that last attack into the face, and he doesn't. Missed 2 damage. We'll see
Zalae
if
just
that...
looks embarrassed, too. Oh,
Yeah.
That's something I don't think I've ever seen happen to Zalae, too. Is that situation. Double shield block! Oh, my gosh!
Well, all of a sudden, Dog's back at like 30 health as this turn. After this turn, he's even gonna have the next shield block for next turn, so he's gonna BGH this off. Still, though, I mean, there's an opportunity. Dog's out of stuff. He's got the Death Bite, but he doesn't have removal left, and so he still has that second Sea Giant. So at this point, you can't afford not to tap. You can't play the Imp Gang Boss plus the Sea Giant, so you can play Argent Squire plus Sea Giant, and then trade in.
I mean, it's got to be the play, right? Your opponent just used basically everything they've got left.
Yeah, and then you're trading in the Defender of Argus. I think preserving that taunt's worth more. Yeah. All right. Well, this is sort of those situations where this matchup comes down to, where it's not necessarily. Ooh, the execute! Oh my goodness!
Gosh! You know what? No presence this turn. So Zalae has a couple turns here life tap, but he's going to need these next minions to bring some heat. He's out of Sea Giants. He's out of Hobgoblins. And now is when all the 1/1s start flowing in. 2 Imp Gang bosses definitely welcome at this point. But this is going to be tight. I mean, if Dog can pick up some damage, like if Dog draws Death Bite, he's threatening lethal.
Yeah,
and
just load it up.
Ways to go on this one. So he's hoping that Dog just draws puny cards for the rest of the game.
He's still a long ways away though. That's just 7 damage on the.
Oh!
Are you kidding me? And Dog is just like no reaction. He's like, "What up? What up? I got a big brawl." The Ruby and Egg is
just on time.
Yeah.
And the Ruby and Egg shows up precisely when he means to, TJ.
Well, I mean, Dog, all he has to do, there's only 2 damage represented on the board. He can just armor up for days. Eventually, Zalae's just going to tap himself to death. It's only a matter of time before Dog just picks up a Grom Hellscream, am I right? Like, he still has that in his deck. I don't think
he's lethal at this point, too.
Yeah.
I don't think Zeta's got the time for this. We're going to find out. Dog still has to draw the right cards, but he's in fantastic shape to do so. Shield Slam for the Knife Juggler. And Sludge Belcher is going to back this up very nicely. Now even for the Nerubian instead.
Yeah. Well.
Second Power Overwhelming. Zalae only has 1 card left.
What is it even?
Second PO?
Okay, well, it's a Haunted Creeper. And that's going to do it. So Zalae, unfortunately, not going to be able to piece together a victory here. That was some timely removal from Dog towards the end there. Some key brawls, and that won that matchup. There was a scary moment where he could have been dead the next turn if he hadn't gotten that brawl, if he hadn't won that brawl correctly early on when there was double Hobgoblin plus a double 5/7 Voidwalker. But Dog's got to be feeling comfortable now that he's got a lead.
Yeah, I think picking up that win, that's certainly an easier Zoo deck, I think, for Dog to fend off. But that win's got to feel so comfortable now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just this is going to be an uphill battle from this point. Rogue versus Zoo.
Yeah, I was going to say, now he's got Zoo, or sorry, now he's got Rogue, which, if there's one deck that you want to go up against Zoo, it's a deck that, 1, you feel comfortable playing, and 2, a Rogue. So this is just right up Dog's wheelhouse. I'm sure he plays this deck a lot on ladder, which means he runs into Zoo all the time. Maybe Hobgoblin throws a wrench into the plans, but I like Dog's chances here.
Yeah, this is a bit of a different zoo deck, though. I mean, I'm curious how much the Hobgoblins actually affect this matchup. Ooh.
Bloodcell Corsair could have some clutch use, and he is going to pick it up. There is usually in this deck, if it is Malygos Warlock, or sorry, not Malygos Warlock, Malygos Rogue, they usually only run 2 weapon buffs. A lot of times you can just stop them from removing a key creature from your board by playing Bloodcell Corsair onto even just a 1 durability non-buff dagger.
Yeah. Just a little bit of tempo can make all the difference here, but this is going to be a strong turn here from Dog. Zalae needs a big implosion right here. But even in the face of that, I mean, he's facing down Fan of Knives from Dog. Just the potential of Fan of Knives really makes this implosion unappealing. I think he's got to go for it anyway, but...
Got him! Oh, man. Well, that ends up being a pretty big deal, because that means his Imp Gang boss survives another day, even through Fan of Knives. So I guess that's just revenge for Dog's brawls in the last match. I mean, each player has had some pretty good fortune and some pretty poor fortune so far throughout this series. I don't think we can give the RNG award over to any player as it stands.
Sapcoin fan, looking pretty appealing at this point.
Yeah, just buying time, stopping the board. That's a big deal. Sap on Imp boss doesn't seem that appealing, but when you're forcing them to spend 3 mana to plop down a 2/4 on the board, yeah, those are the kinds of things that you look for.
Yeah, Echoing Ooze is just going to be the play here. Just trying to get any presence on board to start attacking Dog. Dog no spells left in his hand, though, just minions. This is the potentially dangerous spot, is when you don't have utility that interacts very well.
Okay, well, he gets a backstab.
This is looking like power overwhelming and Loatheb here.
Yeah.
I mean, Zalae definitely wants to kill that Azure Drake. He's going to take his time to think about everything here, though.
All right, so is there any other way to do it? I mean, what is he? He could just Sea Giant.
I mean, he just saw a Sap, too. I mean, maybe Sea Giant's the play. You play Sea Giant, your opponent, say they don't have Sap next turn.
Yeah, I guess the one thing that you're looking at is Loatheb reduces the clock. You still push like almost as much damage the following turn, except you lock them out of spells, so they may be able to develop, but they can't push. Your board's protected, so Sea Giant's is going to be just as cheap the next turn. So I think about it again. I think Loatheb seems like the right choice. So I like how he went with that one.
Yeah, no room for 2 cards this turn either.
And if you tap, there's no way that you can play the Sea Giant.
Yeah, this is tough.
Mm.
And that Emperor's got, I mean, it's got a pretty big target on its forehead. This is pretty much a priority kill. Yep, Sea Giant trade it is.
Come on and slam.
Welcome to the jam. Pretty much the perfect turn here for Dog as well. Azure Drake, Backstab, Eviscerate takes care of that Sea Giant.
He might feel like he wants to draw, though, but I don't know if you can really afford to. This matchup is not necessarily about drawing into your stuff. It's more about just like continuing to remove the board, because eventually you're going to have an Azure Drake on the board, and they aren't going to have anything. And that Azure Drake's going to start getting into damage. And so you don't necessarily want to make those big gadget stand turns. You just want to keep removing the board. And that's exactly what Dog's going to do. He's played this matchup plenty of times. So he's got the experience necessary, it feels.
Yeah, Defender Vargas, little bit weak here. God, just Azure Drake's so good, isn't it?
Yeah. I was talking the other day, I think it was Crip, about how, would you play a 6 mana 5/5 draw 1 card, battle cry draw 1 card?
Potentially, just the right situation.
Yeah.
Oh,
hello.
The hits keep coming too. Even prep for the fan afterwards.
Did somebody say full clear? I just did. Me. I just did right now.
I did it. That was me who said that. Hey, why not?
Yeah, did somebody say draw a card? Also me.
I said them both.
Yeah.
That was me.
And there we go.
Yeah, Dog kind of cringing at that play. I definitely agree, too. I think this was missequenced pretty poorly from him. I don't think he needed to use second poison. I think that Blade Flurry Prep Fan would have been a little bit stronger here for him. But unfortunately for Zalae, just no way to capitalize on it. Yeah, Dog starting to look back at this turn and go, I thought I was clearing the entire board. It's not too big of a deal, but vulnerability to second power overwhelming, that's like really, I think, his only concern with this turn. I mean, at 15, he's pretty safe from all the burst damage.
Yeah. And here we go. Zalae's just going to haul in. He's seen both poisons, which is the only weapon buffs that Malygos rogues usually run. And it doesn't matter now that he's not getting value of this Bloodsail Corsair. So he's just going to throw it out there, go all in on the board, and we'll see if he's going to be able to push it through. Dog's picking up some pretty good stuff, though.
This is all going to get chewed apart. This is brutal. This is always tough to watch. Watching an aggro player lose all their minions, it pains me, TJ.
Does it?
Yes.
It pains me too. You know, I have a lot of respect for players that bring aggro to tournaments. I didn't used to, but then I saw the light.
Just so many cards getting drawn.
Yeah. Throw out the Sinister Strike. Who cares? Might as well. 4 damage, whatever. He's not going to win with Malygos. He's going to win just with anything. Just with stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff's my favorite.
I love stuff.
Same.
And this is when you know that they're desperate. Is when they just empty their hand. And I think Dog still has a way to clear this with Blade Flurry. So, SI Agent.
If he didn't before, he definitely does now. He actually wants to get rid of this Gadsden Auctioneer, I think, at this point. He's getting a little bit low on deck size. And
everything that he would need.
Yeah, he just doesn't need anything else. 3 cards left. I don't think he wants to draw anymore.
So many options.
My eyes are open.
Yeah, well, I was wrong. He does want to draw some more, but not going to actually play a spell this turn, it looks like.
Who cares? 14 health, heal the Gadget Sand. 14 health, 9 cards, whatever. I'll take it. Yeah, I guess he knows that there's just not going to be anything else. Zalae's going to have to tap every turn. Dog's going to be playing minions that are much stronger every single turn. Zalae's just going to go ahead and tap out of the game. That means Dog's up 3-1 in the series. He's going to be on match point moving forward.
Yeah, this is brutal stuff. I mean, just back-to-back games where Dog has quite literally killed every single minion that Zalae has played. And that's one of those demoralizing feelings is when you try to get something rolling and your opponent just has the answer to every single spot. That's one situation I feel like where Zalae could potentially be affected mentally. And down 3 games to 1, he's got to beat Druid to do it too. And 3 chances for Druid to just get one of those amazing draws where it just does Druid things.
Good odds.
This is going to be a tough one.
Yeah. Effectively, you can look at this as being 2-0 up in a best of 5 for Dog. Since that's how it translates over into a best of 7. Dog just has to win 1. Zalae has to win 3 in a row. So Zalae's going to throw out that Hobgoblin Zoo deck one more time. It's probably got the best chance against Druid, and we'll see if he can do it. But I'm liking Dog's hand right now. He doesn't have spells to fight early on. The Shade's a little bit awkward, but having that Wild Growth into a 4-drop is a good hand. It's not the nuts, but it's a good hand.
Something Zalae was missing from the last 2 games, too, I think, was early Nerubian Eggs. And against Druid, the Nerubian Eggs can be a threat, but it's kind of like the one card that if Druid has an answer to it, it stalls almost your entire game. You play Nerubian Egg, if they have the silence for it, I mean, I usually feel like I'm in trouble when that happens. And when I'm playing as the Druid and I silence a Nerubian Egg, I usually feel like I'm in pretty good shape.
Yeah. So I think Zalae was hoping to pick up an activator here. Most other Zoo decks would just play the Argent Squire, but since 1, Zalae has both eggs in his hand, and 2, Zalae also is running a Hobgoblin version, so Argent Squire gets more value as the game goes on. I think he is pretty happy with just searching for an activator, being able to plop down an egg the next turn. And wow, so Zalae's going to be able to go off on turn 6.
Is it going to be enough by then, though?
Yeah, that's the question.
Yep, Ruben eggs the play, and he's running right into what Dog has.
I must safeguard.
There, it looked like it went face. Like
That's what it
the
looked
arrow
like
was
he
pointed
pointed
at the face. Yeah, I was pausing for a second. I was like, that's not where he wanted to go.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Second Ruben egg, still no activator though, and that's really the big one.
Yeah. And now what do? Your hand is full of like combo pieces, so to speak. So, gets rid of the echoing ooze. I'm not sure how happy he's about that. But even if you don't have an activator, you're always threatening activator. The Ruben egg is always sort of, you have to keep that in the back of your mind when you're playing against it. So that might be playing into Dog's head a little bit here. He's thinking, well, what's the better play I can make if he has powerful woman? What's the better play that I can make if he has, an abusive sergeant? And Sludge Belch is the play here, because if he does have abusive sergeant, it means that he can't necessarily trade in efficiently into the Sludge Belcher.
Yeah, so they're going to look for the the right sequence here, but all of them look pretty tough. And that's really the thing about Druid too, is like if it stalls the board development and doesn't fall way far behind, it usually just stays ahead.
Yeah.
And so that's what Zalae's looking for, is how does he actually swing this back in his favor? And it's like a mystery almost. Like I have no idea how. I guess taunting up the eggs and trying to buy some more time. So pretty good. I don't really see these other two attacking pretty much ever.
Yeah. How much time is he going to be able to buy, though?
Dog picks up Big Game Hunter as well. So that Sea Giant, it's pretty much taken care of at this point, too. And I think that's what Zalae was kind of eyeing, was building into this Sea Giant turn.
Yeah, but I think this is a Hobgoblin turn. I don't know if you're going to
sure.
be able to get much value. That's going to be a 3/3 with Divine Shield put on the board, and a 3/5 taunt put on the board. Basically, a Extended Shield Master and a Silver Moon Guardian, which are both 4-mana cards, each 1 mana.
Yeah, pretty good. Plus the threat of the Hobgoblin down. I mean, this isn't like something that Dog just wants to ignore. Like he needs to find some way to check that Hobgoblin, in his mind anyway.
Mm-hmm.
This
Zalae's just praying right now. No swipe. No swipe. Swipe is almost a full board clear here. Swipe plus a hero power would clear everything off the board except for the Argent Squire. Actually, no, he'd probably kill the Argent Squire. Everything off the board except for a 1-health Defender of Argus.
Yeah, it's going to be draw 2 instead, and that is great news for Zalae right now. Yeah, this is definitely the kind of position that can get out of hand.
That it is. All right,
Well, it's
so
not what he wanted to draw, but
if he taps his turn, there's no way that he can play Sea Giant, but I think Gormok's to play anyway. How much damage is that actually? 8, 10 plus 6 is 15.
20
Plus
damage.
4 is 20. So, I mean, I still think you just Gormok, trade in the Dark Peddler and the Divine Shielded Argent Squire and the Ancient Lore and just start going face again. I mean, that's the cleanest it's going to get. And you still have a resilient board. You're not weak to swipe. Oh, he's actually just going to trade off his one mana, or sorry, 1 health.
he's playing around the top deck swipe, which I actually think is really smart here. I think it's one of the ways he loses this game. His board presence is so heavy that he didn't really need to play the Sea Giant.
Mm-hmm.
Force Nature, Innervate Savage Roar are going to help clean up some of this stuff, but goodness, the damage is going to keep pouring on. I mean, Zalae might have turned the corner, honestly, with the Hobgoblin turn, and Dog not having the swipe to take care of it.
This is actually quite a bit that's going to be cleared off. He's going to be able to clear the Gormok. He's going to be able to clear the Hobgoblin. Unfortunately, the Living Runes doesn't really have a use. He can Living Runes off the Divine Shield, but that's just about the only use that it's going to have. It's just not really a clean way to go about it. Like, there's not clean ways to remove all of this stuff.
Yeah, there's no utility back behind either, so this is just nothing really to give here. Now it falls to 11 even from this attack.
Time waits for no one.
You know, at this point, you just got to hope that Zalae's hand is fairly dead, which is just not a very good hope.
Yeah. So Living Runes for the 1/1s. And, yeah, it's just going to pray. Power overwhelming. That's
9.
2 damage off. Yeah.
I think you tap here. Right, Grizzy. Hey, that one's all right.
Yeah, that pretty much just locks up the game.
Ancient of War would be a good draw here from Dog, but pretty much outside of that, it is looking like he can be done. Whoa, Ancient
Hello.
of War!
Does that give him
Oh,
a shot?
my.
I still don't think it really gives him a shot. There's still so many outs here for lethal because power overwhelming. Oh no, power overwhelming wouldn't allow him to cleanly push through. So, I mean
that
it's
could-
better than nothing.
I mean, say he draws another taunt back behind this. This is a potential recovery.
Yeah, it could be, but it's still looking very poor, very poor.
I think Zalae wants to go for. He doesn't want to go for Sea Giant here, honestly, but I think he has to given this hand texture. Yeah, this is going to be met with the big game hunter. The power overwhelming pushes 3 damage as well.
I don't know. He's gonna need a spell because 3 damage is gonna be pushed through, and even after the big game hunter, there's gonna be 5 damage left on board. Even like a swipe won't even clear. A taunt. Ancient of Lord, that's a heal. That keeps him alive. Oh jeez, and that's both power warming's gone. So now we're like a charger away. Does this deck even run chargers as finishers?
No, it doesn't. We've seen the full 30 cards, 2 power overwhelming.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the enhancement.
Yeah. But I don't know if you know Dog's gonna find a way to deal with a Sea Giant. He's gonna need a lot of help off the top. But then at that point, Zalae's sort of got to make the decision. Hey, do I start removing the board to protect my Sea Giant and sort of go all in on it? Like, what's the decision here? If he goes face, then that means there's some clean trades here, and he can leave it with only the Sea Giant. But then all of a sudden, a spell loses you the game. A taunt makes it rough for you.
That
Like, how do you
implosion
go
might
about
lock
it?
it up. That implosion was a really good draw. Now, if he rolls 2, he actually can't play the Sea Giant this turn.
Yeah.
I'm guessing the implosion is going to be pointed at the big game hunter.
Yeah, he needs to roll a 3 or higher, though, in order for him to still be able to play, because it'll take 1 off and add 3, so it'll effectively reduce the Sea Giant by another 2, so it would cost 3 mana. Oh, so he's going to take, I guess, the safer route. Hello!
That's a pretty good one. I wonder if this is ever trade here. I think you go face. Yeah, trading the 3/3 I think is fine. He's going to trade everything.
He's only going to get 1 ooze.
This comes down to Dog having to have an answer to this. I mean, the extra 8/8 is just...
Ooh!
Well, we'll be at 1.
1 health, but can Zalae piece together 2 damage? Abusive Sergeant does it. Power Overwhelming, but I don't think he has any left. Maybe a Dark Peddler into a Power Overwhelming Abusive Sergeant.
Oh,
Knife Juggler.
this game is crazy.
Explosion could do it.
Oh, that's a good
Woodwalker
one.
protects it.
That is
Woodwalker
a
does
very good
protect
call.
it. Oh man,
Oh
this
my
is too
gosh,
close.
8 damage crashing in. Dog needs help off the top, too. The juggle even goes face. He's down to 1.
Force of Nature! That's a full clear. That is a full clear. Oh no.
Oh my god.
Oh no, does Zalae have 1 damage? The dog just puts his hands up there and goes, oops, sorry. Oh man, Argent Squire.
This could be like the
Boss.
sickest comeback.
At 1 health, and Zalae is just, you can tell that he just looks annoyed.
So Dog needs multiple attacks to clear this off. He needs 4 attacks to be able to clear through this. Picks up Jordan! Oh my gosh!
And there's nothing that pushes through. I don't know. Do you play it safe and maybe just clear off the Imp Gang boss, or
Base.
because an owl kills
there
you
is an
either
Iron
way.
Gala in there, isn't there?
Yeah. So he needs 1, 2, 3, 4 attacks to clear up the whole board, but he can. No, yeah, an Iron Beak Owl is you're dead no matter what. So maybe you just go face here.
Nope, he's not dead no matter what. If he clears off both of the if he say he attacks Imp Gang boss with the first shredder and attacks the one with the second shredder, Iron Beak Owl's going to leave him at 1. If he doesn't attack the Divine Shield here. So this is it. Iron Beak Owl is needed for Zalae right now.
Oh my goodness. He hopes, he prays. Well,
That's going to buy him a turn. It
yeah,
looks like.
but I don't know. Is there still any ways that he can find a win here?
I must safeguard.
How about Keeper of the Grove? That's going to do it. Dog fights his way back from 1 HP. And
Yes, he
takes
does.
game number 5. Oh my gosh, TJ, I can't believe Dog won this game.
Wow. What? That, like, I was writing that game off from like turn 6. I was like, there is no way that Dog is going to find a way to make it out of this one. And at 1 health for multiple turns in a row, that Hobgoblin deck showing maybe a slight weakness if the board is removed with no chargers, nothing left to sort of add that extra damage. But that force, I just don't even know. I don't even know how to sum that one up.
I'm
Craziness.
just stunned right now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like such a good sequence of draws too. Being able to clear, have the heal, draw the Force Nature, put the taunt up, get use of the shredders that had been in his hand like the entire game. Oh my gosh, that's a heartbreaking loss for Zalae, but wow, what a comeback from Dog.
Yeah, and that means Dog is going to be moving on to the PAX Prime Finals. He will join Eversiction as the second player to win a feature and to get that automatic seed into the Grand Finals at PAX Prime in August. He'll also go away with $3,000 to add to that impressive tournament winnings that he has. Of course, Zalae will go home with $1,500 plus 16 Geico points, which is actually a lot. So if he manages to place maybe in one of the opens, he is a U.S.-based player, so he is allowed to compete in those opens. He can gather some Geico points and maybe piece together a finish for later in the season and qualify himself there. But I don't think he can be too disappointed with his performance throughout the weekend because I think he played well. It looks like his preparation was there. He just couldn't manage to bring it there in the finals.
Yeah, second place is going to sting today, but tomorrow when he goes, I got $1,500.
$1,500, yeah.
It'll feel a lot better tomorrow.
Yeah, he should be pretty happy with that. But big congratulations to Dog. We want to give you guys another reminder. We will be at PAX East. ONOG and Geico will be at PAX East in just a week's time. There will be a major happening there with a $10,000 prize pool and 43 Hearthstone Championship Tour points to give away. There's going to be a lot of great players that are already going to be there. There's also going to be an open portion. There's 128 slots open. It's on-site signups only, so you have to actually be at PAX East. But if you're going to be there and you think you have what it takes, then make sure you head over to the booth and sign up for that. There's also going to be some players there from Team Liquid, from Archon, from Cloud9. If you want to get some stuff signed, it's going to be a great time. That will be broadcast on Twitch as well, right on this channel. So make sure if you're not going to PAX East that you tune in because it's going to be a fantastic time. That's 22nd through the 24th, so next week. But Admirable, I mean, that was an exciting day. Do you have any final words, any shout-outs, any closing thoughts that you'd like to give?
Just thanks to all the fans who joined us today for these great games, and maybe a little bit of extra sting there for Zalae. Dog is now up 3-2 against them, lifetime in series. But man, just such great play today. I mean, we saw very little, if any, real mistakes being made. Just a couple of tighter sequence plays, but outside of that, we're just picture perfect Hearthstone today.
Yeah, it was a great day. We do want to give a huge shout out to the sponsors. Geico, the title sponsor for the 2016 circuit, as well as the Video Game Voters Network, and of course, Cyber Power PC. We are still doing that giveaway, so make sure when you're signing up for the open tournament, the next open on April 30th, you also enter in to win that PC on geico.onog.gg. But once again, thank you everybody for tuning in. Admirable, it was a blast getting to cast you once again. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next week right here for the major. Thanks for watching.